Go. Comrades, welcome to episode 16 of the Quamfy Show. Today we have Tokenicer on the show. Tokenicer, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
It's awesome to be here. I've been watching you guys' show for quite a minute, and actually coming onto this show, I was really excited to kind of get the opportunity to come on.
Great, man. Good to have you. And on the program for today, we're going to have, obviously, look at Tokenicer. What was his journey? How did he get here? The projects he is in, because he is pretty well versed in a lot of other things besides QNT. So this is going to be the Quamfy Show, obviously, and it's going to revolve mostly around Quant, but we're also going to have a look at a bunch of other projects. And there was an interesting article we're going to have a look at when we have the time. We probably will, about tokenization and not crypto being the future for the digital economy. So we're going to have a look at that as well. Tim, did I forget anything?
Hey. I don't think so. I think we're just going with the flow this episode, and you just announced the main points.
Yeah.
Jarno, how are you? Just starting good tradition.
Doing pretty good. It's it's decent weather, and was excited for the show tonight. Quant price is not all that shit. Well, it is, but it's been worse. So the how do you say that? The expectations shift and everything returns to the new normal and all that kind of stuff. No, man, everything is great. And regarding Quant, we've been having some discussions, and when you look at what's going on in the world, looking at the Coinbase center, and there's also a bunch of other big companies that are all releasing products that just ooze over ledger and OVN out of it. It just feels like, I mean, last week I was bullish and excited, but this week, all the stuff that's coming up, everything feels so fucking imminent. Demonetized in the first 5 minutes again. Love it. No, it's I'm
first 2.5 minutes actually.
Nice. Now I feel super excited and bullish, and I know that and a lot of the OGs have the same, which is also really cool. So yeah, man, just bullish all around. How are you?
I'm good. Much better than last week. That's for sure. A lot of people
no ulcer today.
No, I'm fine. No, I think I actually heard that a lot of people in the Dutch episodes were just listening to hear how I was doing, because they were pretty shocked hearing that I was doing so bad. I just feel that in my stomach. I get sick to the stomach whenever the price drops, just because, well, we're putting a lot of work into this, and we're just really engaged with the project. So whenever things go bad, you feel it. Just like I was super furious during the moments we pump. I always tell other people to control their emotions, but I cannot do that myself. So I'm not very consistent with that. But I didn't panic. I didn't panic sell. I'm still here, still hodling.
That's really fascinating, because we spoke about this in private as well. And Tim, you actually managed to keep the rationale and stay level-headed and think and act rational, but on the inside you're just dying, crying, and burning.
Yeah.
And I think in that regard, you are a shining example for this community, because
I think so.
I'm just dead when the price drops. I simply physically don't care, and my brain is also like, yeah, okay, it sucks, you get half the money or a quarter of the money or a third of the money, whatever, for your QNT as a week ago, which but it doesn't really bother me. But since it actually bothers you, a lot of people have that, and you just show them the way. Just
yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's like riding a roller coaster. You know it's getting intense. You physically feel it, but you also know you're safe, because the project you are in is not going to crash at the end of the day. But I cannot ignore the fact that there was a lot of panic last week. People were seriously considering the fact that Tether, for example, would crash.
Yeah,
That was completely on the table. So
we're gonna look at that
there was a lot
too.
of fear, and that is kind of the scenario I have been fearing the most. That sure, I know QNT is fine in the long term, but there could be some kind of market event that could completely turn everything around.
Yeah.
And that fear was completely realistic a week ago, and I think we're still not really out of the woods yet, but it's definitely better. And it helps that I'm just living my life. So I'm just getting back from work, just have a routine, doing the Quamfy show, doing some exercise, going to the swimming pool twice a week. You know, doing those kind of things, not being too much focused on the chart. That's a great thing. And we have a guest.
Yeah, Tokenicer. How did you get through the last it's 9 months already?
The people we talk to actually inspire us too. So
yeah.
How are you?
So, I'm doing good. Are we just basically, Yarno, were you just asking me basically how I got through last week and how I dealt with that downturn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a pretty interesting story about that. So I have this one buddy who basically just follows a lot of what I do, and what I actually did a while back was put just some money into the Anchor protocol ecosystem. So that was what got hit. That was US Terra, right?
Uh-huh.
So I actually didn't put in that much myself, just some play money. My buddy put in
Oh no.
a fair amount of money. We'll keep it at that. So I told him not to. I was like, you know what, 20% sounds a bit too unreasonable to be consistently giving, so I'm just gonna put in a bit. But obviously they didn't listen, and it started unraveling around like 2 a.m. here, and I'm just getting like spam calls on my phone, and I'm just like, what the hell do you want, man?
Oh, dude.
US Terra is dying. And then pretty much we just pulled out of it at a bit of a loss. I think it was like 10 to 20%. So it's not as bad as we're seeing right now, where I think I got a alert on my phone saying US Terra touched 8 cents.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty rough out there right now. And
it got even worse. Oh,
Oh,
US
yeah.
Terra, that's a stable coin. Oh yeah.
Yeah, let's not even talk about US Terra. Let's talk about Luna, the coin itself, because this thing went from $80 in 1 week to a fraction of a cent. And
Yeah.
I keep saying it, but I really think we witnessed history. Like, we saw a top 10, something a lot of people considered as a blue chip, literally just die in the span of 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah. It got a lot of people stressed and riled. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but yeah, it's ridiculous. I spent 200 euros like a week back, and I got over 600,000 Luna.
Yeah.
I sold it today, by the way. I sold my Luna stack. I got 90 euros back. 600,000 Luna.
Yeah,
it's,
you know,
it's
the
done.
volume there was absolutely insane. It was like
Yeah.
nothing I'd ever seen before.
Yeah.
And
The volume is gone now, by the way.
oh yeah, no, it's gone now. But I remember just like I threw $20 in just to like play around. And I think that $20 was the best $20 I've ever spent. Like, I had so much fun just like going back and forth.
That's dangerous, dude.
It is, but it's $20, right?
Yes. But it could become oh man, I did it with 20 and I doubled my money. I love this shit. And then the dopamine hits.
Oh yeah,
and
for
you're
sure.
learning, you're teaching yourself, and it could get from bad to worse. I know for a fact that I'm, if given the chance, a degenerate gambler. I'm really sensitive to addiction of any sort, any form, and I shouldn't trade. I'm not patient at all, and it's no, because I no, just no.
Yeah,
No,
it
that's
sounds so
totally-
simple. But
Yeah, that's the fucking problem. It sounds so simple.
we
But
had
no,
this.
Did you
I-
earn
I
money?
Oh, so sorry, what were you guys gonna say?
Did you earn money? Did you earn your $20 back?
Oh, so yeah, I did make my money back. I was just like
Hey!
yeah, so that was definitely nice. I don't know, the way I saw it was like, I'm only gonna put $20 in if I lose it, I lose out on a McDonald's Big Mac meal. If I win it, I get another tank of gas at the very least. So I was like, okay, I think the risk reward's fine. And I don't know. I feel like you're definitely right on that, Yarno. Like trading definitely I don't think is for everyone. And I don't think
Isn't.
there's anything wrong to it. Like there's long-term investing and then there's trading. You just got to see what kind of sticks with you.
For sure. For
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah. Today we had at least, I mean, there was some kind of debate somewhere, and people in a group were ridiculing us for the fact that we didn't sell the top back in September, and they did, and they got mocked. And now the tables are turned from, hey, we took profits, you guys didn't. They were mocking us. Yeah, I mean, when you're a trader, life is easy. But when you're a hodler, things are a bit more complicated because you actually get. I'm not sure if Jarno is frozen or just looking very
Yeah,
intensely.
no. Sometimes I just crash.
Okay.
That just happens.
Just like Terra Luna last week.
Yeah.
I know, but I mean, when you're a hodler, like you get emotionally tied into your project for a very good reason because you've done the research. Try to trade it. It will be so difficult. I cannot trade quant for sure. I cannot do that. I can do it with any other token. That's fine because I'm not tied into the project emotionally and with all the knowledge I have. But with quant, I cannot do it. I cannot bring myself. I had it like $150. I was like, okay, I could sell a bit, and even if we halve, then I at least double my money there. But I still can't do it, even when my ratio is telling me that I probably should take profit. It's a very difficult thing.
I definitely do think there's like a different side to it that it's really hard to emotionally place out when you're trading your favorite project. Like ironically, I feel like Quant is probably the token I've had the best trading activity on just because I don't know, it's probably the chart I look at the most out of everything. But with that said, I don't actually trade, like I haven't touched my long-term bag. I've only continued adding to that, but I like to keep the account separate where I do have a short-term swing trading account. So I don't know, buy some quant at the lows, sell at the highs, and then buy back in more at the lows. And I don't know, it's been solid at just sort of accumulating more, but there's definitely that risk to, oh my God, what just like shoots up from fundamentals.
How do you determine what's going to be the top and the bottom? Because what you just said is kind of like the TikTok meme. It's easy, dude. Just buy here and sell here. And
usually, like the way I do it, there's no. I like to say the way I do it is almost purely based on patience. So if it looks high and like some indicators are saying it's like, I don't want to say overheating, but it is in an uptrend, I'll like slowly dollar cost average out and sell a bit. And then if it goes lower, I'll buy back in lower. And if it continues going up, then I'm like, ah, shit, I guess I've got to move on to the next trade or wait till this cools down a bit more.
Yeah, okay. So you're actually not timing tops and bottoms, but you're dollar cost averaging in and out of the trend, if that makes sense.
That's a really good way to put it. I've never even thought about it like that, but yeah.
I think that's really a really important nuance, because what I often feel that traders do is, because they say that, is that they're just doing a single trade, that they have this vision or this knowledge in quotations that this is going to be a top or this is going to be a bottom, and that they just dump their money or accumulate at that point. So this is a real important nuance. That's why I also continued on asking, because we both are always urging people to do the dollar cost average thing, and obviously dollar cost averaging can be for long-term hodling like we do, but as a trader, I am of the opinion that if you want to trade successfully, you need to dollar cost average as well in a specific range. Obviously, there's this accumulation things, and in my opinion, it's really risky. I'm not a trader or a TA or whatever guru by any means, but I think the quant chart is really difficult to trade because there's not so much volume. Might be wrong on that. Really interesting to your interested in your perspective on that. But that's why we urge people usually on quant, because the tide can turn so quickly and so violently, as we've seen in the past. So we urge people in general not to swing and not to trade. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on your trading.
I think I can definitely agree with your guys' outlook on that. Quant does tend to move rather differently. Like, I mean, we just saw it the other day from that big Terra dump. Quant pumped like far more than anything else on the market, right? And then if you guys remember back during the kind of Elon FUD, after he kind of killed the entire crypto market, and not long after, like literally just 2 weeks after that, Quant kind of started running up to like $50 from the $40 stablecoin meme, right?
Yeah.
So I think it definitely Quant has shown some cases of like decoupling from the overall market. So I think in that sense, it definitely is a little trickier to trade. But I think after like, if you're looking at the quant chart almost every day, I think eventually you do kind of start to spot some patterns and some repetition from, I guess, previous price movements, and you can kind of learn to take advantage of that.
Yeah,
And
but
I'm no professional trader by any means whatsoever, but I don't know, like I think there's definitely times I've gotten lucky with just timing the market.
I think there are some very valid points that you make, but I think the weakness of every trader is getting into that comfort zone. And I remember one of my friends was very good in trading platinum, like the
Platinum.
Platinum. Sorry, that's the Dutch word. Sorry, platinum. Yeah, and he was very good at it because he noticed that there were patterns in the way it traded. It was just ranging, so it was just selling the highs and buying the lows, selling the highs, buying the lows, selling the, and that happened for month after month after month. It was making so much money, and then for some reason, the platina chart just went up, completely screwing him all over, and he was getting in with more and more and more money. And it was on this broker, like this broker app, right? So it's like a social activity app, so you can see what other people are doing. And he was actually among the top traders on there in terms of being
profitable. Yeah.
It was very profitable, so other people could follow him. But he completely messed up at one point because you go in bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you make one fatal trade and you lose all your money overnight. So that's always the perspective I have of trading. Like, you can do really well, but one trade can mess up the entire thing. Just be careful out there.
No, 100%, yeah.
But sure, I mean, trading is a very valid method to try and earn more money, and I'm not against it. I'm just not a trader myself. That's the thing I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. And like just back to my point, like there's no wrong way to do it, right? Like, I guess if you're trading on 100x leverage, maybe there is a wrong way to do it.
Unless you shorted Luna during the FUD.
Last week. I actually threw in a short for Luna during the big FUD. I got liquidated, or not liquidated, but I got stopped out in 30 seconds. Like, I have never seen that much volume. But yeah, just to what you were saying, like how your buddy just kind of lost everything in one trade, right?
I think he didn't lose everything, but he lost his gains.
It's like trading bag. I think a lot of that is on risk management, right? Like you win 1 or 2 trades and you start feeling good about yourself. You're like, all right, I'm getting the hang of it. You win 4 or 5, you're like, damn, I'm like kind of good at this. So you're throwing more money in now. You're putting your emotions in. You're like, I think I'm a pretty good trader. So then eventually that comes and burns you. So I think a big part of it is like keeping your emotions in check and actually like managing your trading portfolio, right? Like, I probably shouldn't throw 100% into this trade because it's taken me 2 months to go like 2-3x, and it sucked to lose it all in one trade. So I'll just put 25% in this trade.
Yeah.
One of my former colleagues was getting into crypto. It was like in the period of, what was that, May before everything dumped. And he just started. And like you said, he was just selling the highs and buying the lows, and then going to another token. That was when everything was kind of going up, up, up. And he
When?
felt like a god, and he was like showing off everybody. And all the other people were like just holding QNT, just being conservative. He was like feeling the man. And eventually I left that business, and I heard one of the other guys, when I asked him, hey, did that dude still, does he still have his wallet? No, got overconfident, and he kind of like 100x his initial, and then he got destroyed and lost everything.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
that's always rough
yeah.
to hear.
It is, but everybody warned him. It's like, okay, everything is in full bull mode. There's no rationale anymore, and everything is going up. You cannot keep this up. No, but I know what I'm doing. Okay, dude. Good luck. We'll see you in a couple of months. And it happened. It's just like you guys described. It's so dangerous to get comfortable and thinking you actually know what you're doing, especially in crypto, man. It's how many people do actually know what they're doing. Most people are just guessing, and every now and then somebody floats to the surface because he gets it right 2 or 3 times in a single run, and the next run he's wrong again.
yeah.
So that's why I really like when people say, okay, I have like this hodl bag, and I have this trading bag, and what I trade profits from that. They generally go into the hodl bag, and I just keep playing with the same amount of dough. I think that's good advice.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about the story you just told about your colleague doing trading, and it kind of feels like the way I now talk about crypto with shall I call them normies, like normal people who are not really in crypto, because then they saw me win, right, with QNT. Some people knew that I was in, but they don't really have the knowledge of what QNT is, and then now they see us at the same price, so they just say, well, yeah, it's just a gamble, right? It's just like any other crypto. There's nothing going on there. I mean, you're just gambling your money. It's very irresponsible to do. That kind of really sucks sometimes, because I think we are really doing something different.
Yeah, and that's interesting because we're going to get to that later in the episode, because we have an article that I addressed in the beginning, and that kind of relates to what you just said. That's like the public opinion versus the reality, in a way. So we'll get to that. Sorry for interrupting.
No, it's fine. It's just that the public opinion is this: people just feel like crypto is gambling.
Yeah.
And that it will never really become a thing.
Yeah, that's kind of big.
No, that's not really how I was meant to say. I mean, I wanted to say like that it is obvious that it will go down again. You know?
Oh yeah. It's a Ponzi, the greater fool theory.
Yeah, and also the idea that, oh yeah, you should have taken profits. Sure, but try being in this and try to be rational.
It's always easy to talk like that about other
people's for total
money
outsiders.
And investments, you know?
Yeah.
It's always easy. Hey, you just should have sold the top, dude.
Yeah, I really feel like a lot of times, like, just mainstream media doesn't quite get the full picture, just because most times if you're not like actually in crypto, like to the extent that we are, I think I can pretty confidently say we kind of look at something like pretty related in crypto every day in our lives, right? When you're not like that, like, I don't know, when you're just like a normal person going about their daily lives, and I'm not saying you guys are abnormal by any means whatsoever, but just the only times most people get a glance at crypto is when it's in breaking news, like Bitcoin has shot up 200%, or Bitcoin has crashed however much percent, or China has banned Bitcoin. That's the only time they see that. So obviously the only things they'll associate cryptos to is, one, it's volatile, very volatile. Two, some countries seem to be banning it, some seem to be accepting it, and three, all they really know of most times are like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, and the ones that are in like hype,
Exactly. Yeah.
Guys, with your permission, since we're on this topic right now, would you guys mind if I pull up that article and we're just gonna go through this right now, and then we're
Sure.
gonna head back to you, Tokenizer, and see where you are, where you want to go, and some of the projects you're in. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think that's a great way to structure it.
Here we go. Is this visible to you guys?
Yeah.
It is.
Okay. So what I intend to do, we're just gonna read a little bit of this because there's obviously people only listening. And we're just gonna discuss the interesting things that come up. So what we see here is an article on the Globe and Mail. It's a Canadian thing, which is interesting because Tokenizer, you're from Canada.
I am indeed, yes.
It's an opinion piece. It's called Tokenization, Not Crypto, is the Future for Canada's Digital Economy. It's written by Mark Wiseman on May 17, 2022. So it's a really recent article. First image that you see is a bunch of GeForce graphic cards with nice RGB lighting. And the caption under it is mining rigs on display at the Thailand Crypto Expo in Bangkok on Thailand, May 14th. And that's related to the article because they're going to talk about Bitcoin here. He is going to talk about Bitcoin. So the article starts. Mark Wiseman is a Canadian investment manager and business executive serving as a senior advisor to Lazard Limited, Boston Consulting Group, and Hillhouse Capital, and the chair of Alberta Investment Management Corporation. And the article begins with the dual threats of inflation and further financial downturn are real and require immediate action from policymakers. And they arise at a time when a litany of disruptive global events have darkened the economic outlook. When I read this first paragraph, I was like, oh, dude, it's this type of article again. It's not. Just bear with me. In order to be effective, both monetary and fiscal policy must be surgical, centralized, based on data, and implemented with accountability. We must also be cautious when the likes of conservative leadership candidate Pierre Poilievre, Mr. PP, advocates to opt out of inflation and create economic value with Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. The political appeal of such voices ignores both economic reality and the larger opportunity in this digital space. Colin, tokenization. So this is obviously not a political channel, and I don't know this person. And
How do you pronounce it, Tokenizer? You are the Canadian.
Which one? Tokenization or
no?
Pierre
The Pierre
Poilievre. Poilievre.
See that's actually French. So the first his first name Pierre.
Yeah, and then
Poilievre.
Yeah.
Poilievre.
Yeah.
I think that's about as good as I'll get it.
Poilievre.
Yeah.
Poilievre.
Poilievre. Yeah.
Yeah, Poilievre. Yeah, it's like Canada also has like a French part.
Yeah. So Quebec is our only French province, but there's a lot of talks about them like wanting to be their own country. I'm not like too followed up on all that, but I know it's a little bit of a political mess there been for some time now.
Blame Canada. No. So they're talking about inflation. They're talking about creating economic value with Bitcoin or other currencies, and that we need to be cautious about that. And then he says the political appeal of such voices ignores both economic reality and the larger opportunity in this space being tokenization. So it's interesting that he already differentiates here between crypto and tokenization of things. And that's what this article is kind of about. And what I started this episode off with, it's because back in the beginning when Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin and came out with the white paper, he actually wanted to change the world in the coming years by circumventing the banks and having people trade amongst each other because the banks were to blame for the economy going to shambles. And from there you got Ethereum and all the other projects coming. And in the beginning, everything wanted to solve a certain problem, make a certain problem go away in the future. So going 10 years into the future, everybody was supposed to be paying with Bitcoin, and banks should have stopped existing. That was kind of the idea of Bitcoin. Well, with Ethereum, you had the smart contract stuff, and that was, in my opinion, created to get all the human decision making and the hypocrisy and the lying and the cheating out of the way. So make everything fair, make the code law in a way, and the smart contracts are actually dumb contracts. You cannot fool people. Well, then you got the ICO, obviously, the ICO boom, and all the travesties began. And that's when crypto got most attention, because then the scams began, because you got the massive boom and bust, which we obviously also have in like the regular financial world. Ever since we got rid of the gold standard, we had these boom and bust cycles to a degree, kind of like clockwork. But crypto just made all that larger because it was very illiquid and there were very few people in there, so every move was exaggerated. And that's how crypto kind of got its reputation for being scammy, being a Ponzi scheme. And that's also because that was the narrative in the media and in governments, and they need to ban and regulate. And everybody saw, well, not everybody, a lot of people saw an opportunity there to create like these circle jerk ecosystems where they just create volume for the sake of volume, so people can make money, so other people can lose money, and then they can just blow it up, rug pull it, and then move on to the next protocol and do the same thing. So that's how everybody sees crypto now. But still, there are so many projects, and we're going to talk about a bunch of projects. Tokenizer is better versed on than we are. But Quant is also one of those. They actually want to change the world for the better. They actually want to make a product, or they actually created a product, and they used the cryptography and the tokens to make it better and to actually give it purpose and utility. And I think in XRP was trying to do the same. And that's like a very big contrast with a lot of these protocols that you get on the Binance chain, but also on Ethereum. And simply because, like we said earlier, the only thing that's being seen by the media, by the governments, is when Bitcoin 2x's or halves. That's the only time when people see and hear about crypto, or when Luna goes to zero after it's being a blue chip. It's been a blue chip for over a year. So then everything must be bad, and then we're throwing out the baby with the bathwater, and that's where I begin my monologue of 10 minutes. What do you guys think?
Because I think that is how crypto came to be, or at least what it is now. It's not necessarily how it came to be, but it's the way we view it now.
There's a duality there, because on the one hand, they're right. On the one hand, you got obviously the Ponzi schemes, the pyramid schemes, the rug pools, and the do quants of this world. and on the other hand, you got Gilbert. You have Gilbert that doesn't give a flying fuck about the token price. He just wants his baby to fly and get known and get used. And so that's like the skills on way to one end or the other. Regulation needs to come. Obviously, standards need to come, and there needs to be a culling of shit coins.
And I feel like there is a third third path, and that is companies also using crypto, but then using it as a way to just raise capital and keep raising capital. So, for example, with Quant, they kind of sold out at this point, or they have practically sold out. Whereas you also have companies which still have massive amounts of
you're talking about Link,
for example.
Link, XRP.
Yeah, they really try to do something good, and they're not necessarily Ponzi schemes or whatever, but they do also have huge amounts of supply.
Tokenomics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I feel like there's a third path narrative.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. What do you think, Tokenizer?
I really agree with Tim on that. I think that there are a lot of projects out there that are actually great projects and serve a use case, much like Chainlink and XRP. It's just their token distribution really isn't pretty to look at. Like, I know the Chainlink team holds something like 70% of the tokens, and like
I fully believe that Chainlink is like a pretty essential project to the crypto overall ecosystem, especially in DeFi. And I think we do see a future with Chainlink in there. It's just, you know, having bad token allocation doesn't automatically make you a bad company or a bad project per se. Is it maybe a bad investment? Sure. This isn't financial advice, obviously, but it might not make for the best investment, but I don't think that should take away from the company's overall actual utility and what they provide.
That's correct. Yet, I feel that in many cases, there should be maybe more transparency or honesty, or I don't know. It's obviously, I mean, companies cannot promote or discuss or whatever their token in that way. But I do feel that it's pretty difficult, because if you look at the market cap problem, which is I think a thing, and you look at especially the XRP and the linkies, price predictions would that we see will put their market cap 2-3 times over the world money supply, and it's I don't know, it's
I think I get what you're saying, and like I totally agree with that point. Like, because of the because I'll just continue using Chainlink and XRP as an example, because that seems like what we're doing. But we can both agree that, or we can all agree that both of these are rather large cap tokens, right? Like
yes.
more people tend to know about these, and they are, I believe, both are in the top 20.
Yeah,
so I think the room for growth overall is definitely limited relative to when you look at something like Quant, that's still only $1 billion in market cap versus multi-billions, right?
700K.
Oh, we had 700K. Oh, wow. There's 700 mil, I guess, eh?
Yes, something like that.
Yeah, so yeah, so for
700 million, not K. That would be
yeah, sorry.
I feel my
if it was down to 700K, I think
I feel my stomach.
I think
ha, gotcha. Now we're back to 1 billion now. We're 800,000 euros right now.
Oh, okay, so we're back at $1 billion. Okay, so for Quant to go like 5x, that takes it to a $5 billion market cap, right?
Yeah.
Versus something like I don't know what market cap XRP or Chainlink is, but let's just say XRP at 10 billion. I feel like that's, I don't know, reasonable. It's gone way past that before, but if XRP is at a $10 billion market cap, to 5x that takes it to 50 billion. That's way more capital than like what it would take for Quant to move, right?
Yeah. What sorry for interrupting, but what screws up everything is the fact that we're talking fully diluted, and
that is very true too. Yeah,
because tokens are quote unquote locked, so they're not taken into consideration. If you would have taken XRP and the link locked tokens, quote unquote locked, I don't know how locked they actually are, and you add that, then they're probably ranked 2 and 3 on market cap.
Really, I don't know. I don't know about 2 or 3, because Ethereum is like very high up there, right?
Yeah, but what's the supply for Ethereum like? What it's, I mean, let's not get into the math because I'll just make a fool of myself again. But it's a lot of tokens. I mean, what's the maximum supply of Chainlink?
Let's take a look.
Here I have it here.
Oh, Chainlink actually fell out of the top 20. Total supply for Chainlink's 1 billion.
1 billion. Okay.
Yeah, and 40, so about 46.7% are in circulation. So about half.
Okay. So the fully diluted would be 7 billion, I see here in euros.
Yeah, it says 7 billion here in USD as well. So
no,
but it doesn't actually take the amount of
no, it doesn't take it
capital to go to a certain market cap, right? That is a common misconception that I see a lot of people make.
Definitely.
But I do agree that you need a lot of buy pressure to get there. Because
XRP would be fully diluted 40 billion and it's currently 20. So that's also 50% circulating.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
not as bad as I thought it was. That isn't as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it might have gotten better just like over time because I know last time I checked, I saw something saying like the owners of Chainlink held like 70%, which is, I mean, that's like pretty rare to see, right?
Yeah, the risk is that if they wanna, if they would have bad intentions, they could just drop all that in a single go in the market and then just tank the price. I think
Oh,
that's the-
absolutely. Yeah.
that's the biggest risk. And that's also the biggest criticism that Chainlink got, if I remember from last year, that every single pump is being eaten by the Chainlink team selling tokens. It's, you know,
Yeah, I think there's a pretty big sort of dilemma, so to speak, around Chainlink. Like a lot of people see it as an amazing project on the fundamentals end, but when you look at the tokenomics end, it definitely is a little worrying.
yeah, you hold a link if you want to share.
I used to hold some Link until I saw that news.
What news was that?
Where the owners held 70% of the supply.
Yeah.
So yeah, that had me paper hand out of it a little bit.
Paper hands, golden brain.
But while we still have this article up, and since you brought up the name of Pierre, I wanted to just kind of highlight this one little article that I'd seen about it. It was regarding Pierre. Basically, his significance to Canada sort of is just he's looking to run for president in the next election.
Okay.
So I'll just drop this little link in the chat, but this is kind of his like little proposal as to why people should vote for him. And I don't know, I feel like as people who are deep researchers in quant, we'll find this pretty interesting.
Let's see. Paul Yavre. Poilivier would hold the Bank of Canada's digital currency. Would hold the Bank of Canada's digital currency. Submit central bank to more audits. The central bank said it has no plans to launch its cash-like digital currency unless absolutely necessary. Okay.
Well, we did see Timothy from the Bank of Canada a month ago.
Yeah,
That boomer definitely had no intention of launching a central bank digital currency.
No, he said so I watched the panel too, and kind of what I got out of it was just Timothy didn't, to me it kind of seemed like he researched everything about CBDCs the night before and just kind of tried to come on the panel.
Yeah, on Wikipedia.
Yeah, like I don't know, it was very like some of the stuff he said, I was like, I feel like most of the people here would know this by now. So yeah, I wasn't too impressed by how he represented our country.
Yeah.
I believe Bitcoin is being used for illegal transactions. I don't think that is the way forward. In Canada, we have 12% inflation. That was how he sounded.
No more than 2% over the last 12 years.
Yeah,
that was
a terrible impression. But
yeah.
My name is Tim. I can do that. Okay.
Our inflation is not looking pretty here.
Yeah. No, he said it's never been higher than 2% over the last 10 or 12 years, something like that. It's like was dying.
I don't know. I looked into Timothy Lane a bit more, and I was kind of surprised at kind of just I don't want to say the lack of knowledge, but just kind of the level of knowledge he was bringing there, because this guy also worked at the IMF for 20 years.
Yeah, he struck me as just a guy waiting to retire and thinking this shit will not start to fly until his retirement. Does that make sense? And there's also a thing you see here. I mean, for the first paragraph, conservative leadership, hopeful Pierre Poilievre would stop the Bank of Canada from implementing its own digital currency and even ban future governments from doing so, while also promising to empower the Auditor's General Office to audit the central bank. How can you ask something like this to even ban future governments from doing so? what the hell is that? If somebody asks or proposes something like this, then there's no hope. The guy has no perspective. It's just an I think this is extremism. If I ever
For
saw
sure,
it.
yeah. And I think this really just shows like, you know, a lot of people don't actually do their research into central bank digital currencies. All they think is government's going to track where I spend my money. Like the government's not going to care where you spend your money. And like, they probably already know where you spend your money by now. Like we pretty much gave up our privacy. Like when Google came out, like Google probably knows you better than you know yourself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think it's the worry around it. At times I can kind of get people hanging on to that hope of privacy, but at the same time, I think people actually need to look into this because a big talk in central bank digital currencies are especially on the retail side, is the kind of privacy layer, right? That was brought up a fair amount at the panel too.
Yes, correct. Yeah,
And then,
we agree.
yeah, and then obviously Gilbert Verdian mentions this a lot, but the abilities of programmable money, that brings a lot of benefits, not just to institutions, but even retail like us.
It's called programmable money. You can program it to do whatever the hell you want. You can make
Exactly.
it. You can make it the most anonymous thing ever to exist. More anonymous than freaking cash, where you put your fingerprints all over it, and that you spend at a store where there's cameras on your face.
I've never even thought about that, like in terms of cash, but you're really right. Yeah, your fingerprints are all over those bills.
Yeah.
Shall we go back to the article, perhaps?
Yes.
For
Otherwise,
sake
we
of,
got to go to CBDCs, and Tim has got to have a freaking.
I'm already itching here.
Yeah. Okay. Having been an investor for more than 2 decades, including many years spent managing the pension investments of millions of Canadians, I care about the principle of intrinsic value. That's just when I threw up a little bit in my mouth. But let's continue. It gets better. Pricing assets based on their underlying attributes, and in turn generating a reasonable risk-adjusted return from those assets. That's like hearing my dad talk, trying to explain that. Oh, well, we all know. Unlike traditional investment alternatives, cryptocurrencies have been and are extremely volatile, with their value tied to speculative activity as opposed to intrinsic worth. While one can envision how central bank digital currencies or stablecoins could change our financial system and create significant efficiency value down the road, the real benefit that exists today is in the blockchain and distributed ledger technology behind cryptocurrencies. So this is where he makes the distinction that we spoke about earlier. He's actually saying that oh man, I don't want to repeat myself too much. So he thinks there are two separate things: the cryptocurrencies and the blockchains and the DLTs. Did I get that right?
I think essentially is, yeah, he's saying there's like a difference between the underlying technology itself and what people like see cryptocurrency as.
No.
And I think he's correct on that term. Like there is a big difference. A lot of like DLTs and blockchains will continue being essential to our future, but I think a lot of these blockchains don't actually need a cryptocurrency or a crypto asset to fully function.
Yes, I agree. Token not needed.
Yeah, exactly. They're like
what yeah, okay, continue please.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, if you look at a lot of DeFi protocols like Aave, Uniswap, Compound, those tokens aren't actually needed. All they really serve is governance, and that seems to sort of be the sort of buzzword to give a token utility. You get governance on our platform.
That's the loophole.
Essentially,
that's what makes it not a utility token and not a security. So the SEC can't catch us because it's giving you voting rights or something like that. So yeah, I think you're right on that, but I do think that the fact that let's take Bitcoin, if if the blockchain didn't graduate, well, Bitcoin is not a good example in this case because the purpose is the money. But for Ethereum, the miners get fees, and the miners get rewarded in ETH for providing the service and maintaining and growing the blockchain in a way. So if you take that reward away, what is then the incentive for people to keep the blockchain going?
Well, there wouldn't really be an incentive because they're not rewarded to, right?
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about this is, have you guys been following the MiCA bill by any chance?
No.
Okay, so that's the European Union's proposal bill that's kind of been like buzzing around Europe. That's kind of where that proposal to ban proof of work mining was from.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you heard about that one, Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
They actually clarify in there what defines as a security token, a utility token, a payment token, or a hybrid token. And they do say that if a token is used to reward validators for maintaining the network, so like you mentioned how Ethereum works like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's actually seen as a utility token in that case. So yeah, it's interesting how they place the laws like that, or I guess are proposing it like that.
I think in many cases it is also maybe a lack of true understanding, and that's also what generally kind of scares me about governments. I mean, politicians, they are not computers. You cannot simply teach them anything of everything by just letting them read it once. I mean, if you're a politician, you can have an opinion on something that you've just read, like an article that we're reading right now. You cannot expect them to know it in depth.
Yeah, no, 100%. I completely agree on that.
So they do need advisors from the outside, but advisors from the outside, they always have their own agendas, which makes it really difficult to get a proper weight and truthful, honest, difficult words, objective, maybe, conclusion, perspective, regulation, those kinds of things. And I think in this case, deeming Ethereum and then the ETH a utility token could be correct, but if you compare it to what QNT does, where does Ethereum then stand with their utility token status? Then it's just a mere cryptocurrency, perhaps.
That's a good point, and I think obviously I'm not affiliated with the European Commission, but I think the way I would see it in that sense is Quant provides more overall utility to the Overledger network than Ethereum does to the platform of Ethereum. But that's not to say Ethereum doesn't provide any utility. It's just not as great of a to say it. It's not as greatly designed as a token model.
Yeah. Yes.
I think you need to kind of construct your regulations around the principles of the network, not around actual utility, because that is debatable. I think
that
it
is
should
true,
just be about the main principles of what you're trying to do with
well,
a token.
you could technically define that a utility token needs to have at least 3 functions on the network to be deemed a utility token. I mean, you can argue that a ton of those shitcoin projects are utility tokens simply because they reward people for staking or something like that. So that kind of makes everything a utility token by European law then, and that wouldn't solve a single fucking problem.
No, that wouldn't. And I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how that law continues to play out, because them stating it like that does set up a lot of loopholes, because essentially they're saying any layer 1 is a utility token, because the premise of any layer 1's incentive is to reward validators with their own token, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that's kind of interesting that, I don't know, they're setting it up like that, and kind of contradictory, because if you state it like that, that also means Bitcoin itself is a utility token, because its utility is to validate the miners. But at the same time, they were looking to ban proof of work mining. So that's like, you know, things don't really add up that way.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously they're all just drafts, and the laws are still to be implemented. And that's probably why it takes such a long time.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
and I think especially for Europe, it will take even longer because you got obviously elections going on everywhere, and stuff is changing. Um, so I'd reckon it'd be pretty difficult to get uniform regulation going within a short time frame.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
okay, yeah.
oh, I was just gonna add to that. Like, as we were saying, like off stream, we were saying like these things don't happen overnight on like the technical integration side, but even the regulation side, that probably takes just as long, if not even longer.
It's going to be longer, especially since, like we said, nobody's a specialist, and well, Gilbert
Exactly, yeah.
is, but and most people will never be specialists. So how are you going to educate people um, on what policy could be right for a specific nuance of? Well, it's going to be a pretty hefty discussion, but yeah, we'll see on that. But what's interesting on this article is the guy just made actually his point of what it's about, and he says the blockchain distributed ledger technology, that's the thing that's interesting, and not the fact that it can also make people money. Um, so he continues, tokenization is a tool created by such technology. And then there he's speaking about the distributed ledger and the blockchains. So tokenization is a tool created by such technology and has the potential to immediately create and redistribute value for everyday Canadians. It allows owners of assets with intrinsic value, ranging from real estate to securities to commodities to fine art or the digital equivalent, to tokenize their assets into a form that is usable on a blockchain application. In practical terms, it enables asset owners to sell fractional ownership of their asset akin to a publicly traded company, issuing equity, but in a more accessible way. And this, to me, this paragraph was like, okay, this is interesting. This guy is onto something, because this, the tokenization of stuff, is being talked about for at least as long as I am in crypto. So for the first time, I believe at Real Vision, and that's like you could technically tokenize your phone, and then use that as collateral to, in a way, to get a new mouse pad or something silly like that. Everything can be tokenized, and obviously that's on a much bigger scale. We talked about this in the Moby episode as well, Tim. And I'm blanking right now. Someone take over.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think the whole idea that Tim, did you have something you wanted to add to it?
Not necessarily. I'm just thinking about how you would tokenize your phone. It's just, no. Where are we in the article? Which
yeah, we were here. We were talking about. Sorry, guys, for losing my train of thought.
No, it's fine.
To tokenize their assets into a form that is usable on a blockchain application. In practical terms, it enables asset owners to sell fractional ownership of their asset akin to a publicly traded company, issuing equity, but in a more accessible way.
I think that's an idea that's like kind of been around over, like, I don't know. I think some of these ideas shared in here definitely have been shared before in the past, like the idea of blockchain and DLT as the underlying technology being something that will for sure stick, but a lot of people just seeing cryptocurrencies as that part of the speculation. Like, we can have blockchain and DLT, but do we need cryptocurrency is like how a lot of people are seeing it. And I guess the whole concept of tokenization, especially with NFTs becoming so big over the past 2 years or so, people have kind of looked towards tokenization and seeing how they can apply this to just our current equities markets. And I think the idea of fractionalized ownership is something that would really make sense to kind of just start off implementing this, because now you're able to split up the equity between, I don't know, let's take a big company like Amazon, for example. A big problem with investing in Amazon's ecosystem is you got to have at least $3,000 to start off. And if you don't, you basically have to sit out and hope it dips to however much money you have to even buy one share.
Yeah, or save money. And we talked about this in the Dutch episode with my investment journey. You have to make choices. Do you want to buy shares now, or do you want to save up money and have your money do nothing? And I gave an example of an LNG company, Ontario Midstream, that was two euros back then. While indeed Tesla was like 900 or something. I couldn't get a Tesla share every month, but the opportunity cost of letting I had 500 euros every month, letting my 500 euros sit for a month and do nothing, so I can buy one Tesla the next month. That just didn't make any sense.
But even there, you can buy fractional shares, right?
No, you can't in the Netherlands. Well, you couldn't back then, not on the Giro and on FlatEx. Then you can only do that on eToro, and that wasn't open in 2020 to us, to my knowledge.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, fractional shares on stocks just became like a really recent thing. I know they only started being like offered here in Canada just last year.
There's a big problem with that, by the way, and I don't want to go too far off topic, but there's this theory. I heard something, I think Roel Pel said it, that every stock or every share is actually owned 16 times on average.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah, and I don't know I was just gonna say the overall equities market, especially when you compare it to crypto, is just, I don't want to say shady, but it's
oh, it's shady.
Yeah, let's just use the word shady, okay?
Yeah.
So for
because
example,
everybody thinks they own the share or the stock, and it's not the case.
You just get an IOU for it, because at the end of the day, with your crypto, at least you can store it in your own wallet. You know you own that token. When you buy a share of like Tesla, you think you have that stock because it's sitting in your stockbroker account, but there's the catch. It's sitting in your stockbroker's account, and that's who actually owns it. If the stockbroker was to burn and fold one day, good luck getting your money back.
Situation is even more dire. From what I understood, is that what happened in 2008 to a degree is everybody started kind of like this run on their assets, and a lot of people couldn't get it because other people already also owned it, and the same could happen right now. So if everybody says, okay, I want to sell my Tesla stock right now, I'm just using Tesla as an example, then there will be on average 12 to 13 people with no stock and one person owning it. So nobody knows who owns what at what point, because there are so many IOUs going around with all the derivatives and shit that actually everybody owns it and nobody owns it. And blockchain and DLT could technically solve that, because then you can actually, because it's immutable, look back to who was the initial or the current owner. The problem is, to get there, the system needs to get nuked first. So you have to technically start with a clean slate, or at least figure out who owns what before you can implement the new thing. And that's interesting, because the same goes for the legacy banking system right now. You can't just simply turn it off or just put it on the blockchain, because you cannot turn it off for a single minute, because then the world economy would be in shambles. There'd be very, very big problems. That's why Overledger can change, obviously, for that part of the world. But the shady stock market, it's got to be in the title, is a very big problem indeed. Yeah, and the fractionalization and stuff could happen, because it's technically kind of in a way happening right now without people knowing that it happened. Because if you think you own it, but 12 other people own it as well, then you technically only own 1/12 of the stock. Again, it's from the top of my head and something that I heard somewhere else. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the numbers are off. You never know in the Quamfy show. But in essence, it is correct, and it is a big problem. And a lot of people that created that system or own a large part of the system are afraid And same goes for banks. I mean, they say crypto is being used by gangsters and drug dealers, etc. But there has never been more fraud than in the banking system right now. And blockchain will end that in a way.
Yeah.
So I can
Shall we go
understand
back to the article then?
I can
Sorry.
understand, yeah, if you made your capital by cooking the books, then blockchain is not very interesting and appealing. So yeah, but Tokenizer, you were making a point about fractionalizing and tokenizing. Did you make your point? Because I interrupted as usual.
Yeah, I mean, essentially what you kind of finished off my point saying like how even though they are offering fractionalized shares right now, they're still doing it in the same system where like they're just handing out IOUs and like basically duplicating them onto other accounts.
Yes. Yeah, there was even you saw that with the GameStop. That's where I also
Yeah,
noticed.
that's kind of like what blew up the whole GameStop thing, right? That kind of like brought it to attention.
Yeah, because they simply sold more than that they owned or could get their hands on. So they had to halt trading, and well, it was terrible.
Yes.
Yeah. So to continue, tokenization leverages smart contract functionality, the same technology that supports many cryptocurrencies, that has the potential to unlock immense value and liquidity for many investors, big and small. This is the aspect of the blockchain and distributed ledgers that our political leaders and regulators should be focused on. The tool is incredibly attractive because it can provide investors with easier ways to purchase, hold, and trade assets that have real underlying value, including digital assets such as the NBA's incredibly successful Top Shot, a platform that allows fans to trade collectible NFTs of past plays. Think of them as digital trading cards. Cryptocurrencies, which have no clear intrinsic value, are an impressive demonstration of the power of blockchain, but like the early BlackBerry products, it turns out that the software that underlies many cryptocurrencies, such as Bitcoin, is far more valuable than the initial application. Yeah, this is what we spoke about earlier already, I think. Or does this make any new points? Tokenizer, Tim, maybe?
No.
No, I think the article covers it fairly well.
Tokenizing and selling part ownership of one's asset can improve liquidity and increase transparency of the value of their assets, allowing them to borrow against them more easily. Valuing an artwork is notoriously difficult, but if a sculpture is tokenized and a liquid market in those tokens develops, price discovery for the object as a whole becomes far easier. After the tokenization of a skyscraper, a token holder would be able to secure financing against their tokenized portion of the building, as opposed to having to mortgage the entire structure to gain funding. Sorry, as opposed to having to mortgage the entire structure to gain funding. That's also pretty understandable, right?
Yeah. Just pretty much tokenizing things will allow assets to be a lot more liquid and pretty much allow for more opportunities, whether that's just borrowing for buying a house or just lending against your assets.
Yeah, and what intrigues me the most is that from what I gather from this is that it then can just be done on the fly if you want to. You don't have to. Obviously, it won't be for everybody in every case, but you wanted to go to 10,000 hoops and gatekeepers, etc., which would make everything indeed a lot more liquid, but also a lot easier and cheaper.
Yeah, and just overall more attainable, right? Like right now, to apply for a loan, most times you need some sort of like you need to go through a lot of no pun intended, but gateways to kind of get your loan to get approved for it and everything.
Yeah.
But we spoke a bit about this off air too, but just kind of
some of these platforms are having collateralized loans where you just need to provide the sufficient backing, and pretty much through smart contracts and stuff, you can get a loan on your assets without any intermediaries.
Yeah, no loan sharks.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Let's move on. Let's see. Tokenization would allow them to invest in assets that would otherwise be unavailable, creating potential value. Did I read this already? No, creating potential value for both buyers and sellers with fewer barriers to selling fractional ownership of large infrastructure projects. This class of investor can drastically expand the type of large projects into which they can invest. Yeah, so that's what we talked about earlier. But yeah, the Tesla was kind of unattainable for me at that moment, unless I was patient and saved money. But the opportunity cost would be high, so I got it to another asset that actually gave me a return for that point in time. And in this case, anybody could technically buy into the new World Trade Center if that's being created, or whatever other thing, even with only like €5 or something a month, which is always better than putting €5 in the bank. If we want to lead as a country in the blockchain distributed ledger technology sector, it is tokenization toward which we should be focusing our efforts, not on a misguided idea that Bitcoin can solve inflationary pressures brought about by an excess of demand oversupply in the economy. In fact, the support for cryptocurrencies by such voices as Mr. Poilevre, driven by criticism of our central banks, show exactly why we need such independent institutions. Politicians are kept at arm's length from them for a good reason. Just look at what happened to the Turkish economy when President Recep Tayyip Erdogan ignored and eroded the authority of the country's central bank in favor of a misguided politicized monetary strategy. Instead of political theater on the steps of a venerable institution, Mr. Poilevre and other cryptocurrency supporters ought to be more responsible and advocate to make Canada a leader in tokenization that requires investing in the necessary training, technology, and governance structures for this revolutionary technology, and building a system of laws and regulations to support it. I wanted to finish the article, although I know that this political perspective was in there, out of respect to the author. I'll link this in the description, so you can look this up. I also put the other Poilevre thing in the description. I think this is interesting. He ends with, it requires investing in the necessary training, technology, and governance structures for this revolutionary technology and building a system of laws and regulations to support it. This is all also obviously Gilbert's vision, still being the Quamfy show. And that's where it begins and ends. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. Regulation is going to take the most time. The technology is technically here, but the problem is what country is the internet on? There should be some universal law. No, it's going to be a wrong sentence, but fuck it, being created. There should some universal law get created that just pertains to everything that goes on the internet, because right now there's different laws for well, there's different nuances in the law for many countries between Canada, United States, and the Netherlands. I bet you there's a bunch of different. I mean, a lot of things are the same, but a lot of things are different as well. And since borders are actually fading, especially on the internet, there needs to be at least a level regulation playing field, and obviously Gilbert is all about that. But then there needs to be a calling first of everything that is shit.
Yeah, essentially just like a global communication standard, right?
Yeah, and with communication you mean like everything that goes over the internet?
Well, kind of in that sense, but also like you're kind of saying how there's like regulations and laws around the world that are separated. Like something might be legal in Europe, but it might be illegal in the US, right? So I think there needs to be kind of a standard placed around that, especially in crypto, where you know, some countries have really laid back laws, such as like Singapore and the Cayman Islands. But then there's countries with like really tight laws. If you look at like China.
Yeah. Yeah, but those will never line up because there's always cultural differences.
That's true. Yeah, they'll never be like exactly, but I think there are some standards for certain laws that would make sense to place just like universally.
No. Yeah, and that's what makes it so terribly difficult. And we're not going to solve it with three of us in the Quamfy show episode. A lot bigger and more experienced brains are working towards that, but it's a common theme. And you keep and I as well keep saying crypto, and we're in the crypto space, and we distinguish ourselves from the rest of the world, from the normies, and I think that's going on right now, but in 5 years, 10 years, I think what is called crypto right now will be what the dark web is at the moment. For me at least, I've never been on a dark web, wouldn't know how to get there. Can't be bothered either, to be honest. But I think in 5 years, 10 years, regulations will be there. And what we call crypto now will be gone, and projects like Quant and maybe a bunch of others, they will just be mainstream, like stocks and bonds and precious metals and all those things. Stocks will be obviously also tokenized. I mean, SDX is already looking at that, how to get everything digitized at least. Don't know if it's going to be tokenized, but at least on a blockchain, immutable and traceable. I mean, it makes everything so much more efficient and honest. So yeah, we're making the distinction right now. Crypto. Curious to see how long that will last.
Yeah, I think it's more of an overall blending of the two systems into one rather than like, because like when Bitcoin came up, at least it kind of came out as this new idea of like something completely different, something out of the system. And I think the goal now, especially with like how much of a role regulators are playing, is more of bringing this new system of sort of crypto DLTs and like NFTs and everything into our current legacy systems of like ETFs, stocks, mutual funds,
Yes.
and having like that sort of perfect blend where they can kind of work together in like, I don't want to say one platform, but like, you know, a single accessible system.
Why not one platform? What is wrong with that?
I just felt like that wasn't like sort of a broad way to describe it. I figured if I said like one system where everyone could access everything, it kind of paints a better picture, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I agree.
But yeah, to just point back at the article a bit, something I did find really interesting was kind of how they worded it at the end, saying like there needs to be like global standardization and everything, because that is a lot like what Gilbert says, right?
Yeah.
And then if you look in the Project Jasper, one of the you guys are familiar with Project Jasper, right?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, I know the term, and where you explain them like, oh yeah, but I keep mixing up my Helvetias, Juras, Jaspers, and whatever.
I can't blame you at all. I mix up Helvetia and Jura probably on a daily basis. But Jasper is the Canadian one, so that's the one working closely with Project. Oh, come on, don't let me butcher this. Ubin. Ubin is the Singapore one.
Digital currency and fintech projects.
Yeah,
this is new for me. I haven't heard of this before.
Okay, so
I mean, I could have, but I can't recall.
Okay, so I did write just a little thread about this just a while back to see, you know, how Quant kind of connects into this.
Yeah.
I guess I'll drop that in the chat too. But you know, it's pretty interesting how I realized Quant and the Bank of Canada sort of connected, because we do know about how you know, Timothy and Gilbert came on to speak together, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then I believe in one of the in one part of the thread, they also mention a really similar thing to that article. They talk about basically a need for standardization, and then they actually also even mention ISO.
You didn't number your tweets, right? Because I see one of many.
I just wrote of many, yeah.
Okay. Focal link.
So yeah, a lot of quant partners or like quant affiliations are also with the Bank of Canada, like Vocalink
Yeah.
and C, which I found kind of interesting.
We're on ODAP. Let's see LCXQNT here.
Yeah, so
Yeah, Project Jasper, perhaps the most
yeah, so
interesting
if you
point.
click
Project
on that
Jasper.
image with the highlights, I believe they talk a little. There's like a similar sort of language in there.
Yeah. So what's highlighted here is, for now, focus is perhaps best placed on the need for standardization, the developments of protocols that permit interoperability between other ledgers and networks, and the reduction of computational intensity and costs. And the next highlighted part is the International Organization for Standardization, ISO, is perhaps the highest body with this objective in mind, while R3 is also focused on trying to deliver interoperability between projects, particularly those involving central banks in different jurisdictions. Yeah. Yeah, there are so many Gilbertisms. Interesting. Was there another bit in this thread? Because
that was the main point I wanted to just highlight
Yeah.
quickly, how you know, the language they use kind of match together, and that obviously sounds like a similar way of putting it together that Gilbert would put, like a global standard protocol to allow interoperability without messing with the underlying layers themselves.
Yeah, but I feel like all governments and basically everyone in the space is striving towards the same kind of standardization that is obvious, but it's still in our favor. If everyone adopts the standards that Quant has set in the beginning, they will all come to us eventually.
Exactly. Like I think if all these I think we can agree that the Bank of Canada isn't the only one who's kind of worded it like this. There's other governments that have said we need a global standard of interoperability. I think if they're all saying that, and then we look at Quant, they offer just what they're talking about, right?
Yeah,
I think that's a pretty good sign.
Yeah, it's like Bus said, a guest we had a couple episodes back. Gilbert is actually banking on. He's creating the standards and the rules and kind of like leading the herd, and he's banking on the fact that people remember that when the regulation is finally there and they need a solution, that he is the man that actually already has it all figured out, and that they're then gonna go to him for his solution and the one-stop shopping. So that right now, not necessarily all the people using the Gilbertisms are partners. And I know this sounds like FUD, but it's not. Because a lot of countries and banks and big enterprises, they're simply not ready yet to take the leap into DLT and blockchain yet. But they know it's coming, but they just want to hold out because those things always cost money. But they do want to adhere to the rules, the regulations, the level playing field. I mean, everything is either mandatory or really, really enticing. So eventually that they will bend the knee, and they know they will. So even though they potentially do not already use quant products at this time, the chance they will in the future is pretty high, because the guy that told them before everything was already law that they needed to get ready because it's going to be law eventually, they kind of saved their skin and saved them a lot of money. I think they will have, in Dutch we call it the gun factor. How do you call that in English?
the sympathy, I think. Like
Ye-
you get the sympathy. Like you were the guy that saved him in the first place, and then you're like,
Yeah,
they seem like the good.
Okay,
good
I think
party
I
to do it.
understand where you're going with that.
and the
Yeah.
trust, of course, because if somebody is so visionary that he knew years in advance that what the future is gonna look like. I mean, and Gilbert had it right a lot. I think that that sparks confidence. Yeah.
I think definitely, yeah. Seeing that someone's kind of not only worked at the level that Gilbert Verdian has, but also seeing like his background in, I guess like, I don't want to use getting it right as the term, but yeah, getting it right and actually like seeing where sort of this space is going to.
Yeah. Yeah. Tokenizer, I have a question.
Yes.
Obviously you brought up the USDT thing, the tether argument. Do you want to start there, or do you want to tell us about your crypto journey so far? Because we kind of mixed everything up.
Yeah, I guess we kind of got a little
Carried away.
bit excited, hey?
Well, we spent the lion's share of the episode on tokenization, which is part of your name. So we didn't.
True. That is
weird
very
stuff.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we'll move to the other side of the sort of breakdown now. Did you want me to, I guess, sort of just share how I got into here pretty much?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So I first got into crypto around Q3 of 2020 when when one of my buddies at work told me about Bitcoin, and at the time I was already like fairly invested in the legacy market, so like your stocks, your ETFs, and those kind of things. And I always
okay. Now move on. Sorry.
No, okay. So yeah, I was kind of in the legacy markets for a while, and then I always found it really annoying how it took you 2 days to actually settle a security, because that's how legacy systems work, right? And that really bugged me. So I was beginning to be like, okay, I really want to find a way to put in investments or just trade overall, but I don't want to have to wait 2 days, because a lot can change in 2 days in markets like these. And I don't know, I'd like heard of crypto at the time, but I never really gave it that serious of a look until one of my work buddies were like, you should really look into Bitcoin. And he told me about the whole narrative of digital gold and everything. So I kind of took a look and I was like, okay, well, this is kind of cool. It's still a little speculative, and I've heard some pretty interesting stories about it back then. So, I put a little bit of money in, but it wasn't anything serious, not something I was like constantly monitoring, until I found Ethereum. And I was like, wow, this is like far more robust than Bitcoin. Like, you're actually trying to build a whole ecosystem in here. So that really got me digging. And then I started digging into other protocols built on Ethereum, which led me to other layer ones eventually. So like your Solana, I didn't actually look into Solana, thank God, but your Polkadots, your Algorands, your XDCs, those kind of things. And that really had me fascinated. And now I was like, okay, so there's so much more to crypto than what mainstream media is showing us. Like, all I ever heard from mainstream media was like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and that was about it. And then it was eventually I followed Crypto Nagato. I know you guys are pretty well familiar with him. So I followed him, and he started shilling this coin called QNT. And I don't know, it was something about him that made me trust him more than most of these crypto influencers. So I took a look at QNT, and I was like, this thing's sitting in like the lower 200s. Why is he shilling this coin out? So I got a little bit skeptical, and so I did my research because I wanted to see what it was all about. And like literally just by going onto their website and watching their video, I was like, this is something completely different from like what Bitcoin, Ethereum, or all these other layer ones are building. They seem to like actually be wanting to build a business around blockchain and DLT. So I looked a little more, and then I stumbled upon the Telegram group, and that's when I started asking just some really beginner level questions like, why do we need interoperability? How does Quant solve interoperability? Doesn't Polkadot solve interoperability? And that's when San.
Oh, you were that guy. Sorry.
I was that guy. Yeah, I was that guy.
I was that guy too, honestly. So.
No, that's great. We all were, man.
Yeah, I mean, at times I think it's good to be that guy, because that shows you're actually curious about the project rather than asking questions like when moon, when gateways, right? So
it's all about the way you ask the question, in my opinion. If I see that people are genuinely interested, I spend time on them. But if they don't, then you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like if they're actually curious on how this works versus they're curious on how it's going to make them money.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was asking some really beginner level questions. People were probably getting a little annoyed. So San, I'm sure you guys are also aware of San, right?
Yeah.
He pulled me aside into a private DM and he basically just like explained everything from like start to finish for me. And that really made me think like this is really a community that like isn't focused on just like the money or anything, but they actually want to see like why this technology is going to be like implemented in the future.
Son is a legend. He helps so many people out, and there's patience, and it's quite awesome.
Jarno, me and Son are the admins of the Dutch QT.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, Eye of Cyber is also an admin, and Lucas, but they kind of they moved away a little bit from Quant. So now it's me, Jarno, and Son. Huh?
A little bit on the back burner. No, but Son is a genius, and I'm glad he quote unquote reeled you in. And
yeah. So that really woke me up to the other side of crypto and seeing like not everything's just like, you know, when you look at Ethereum, essentially everything's they've basically built their own little island and kind of stuff around that island, but it doesn't connect to any like core legacy infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
And that's while that's cool and all, like it's a really cool concept, I'll have to admit that, but it's really hard to drive actual adoption when you don't have any bridges to the legacy infrastructure. And that's what I saw in Quant. I saw their partnerships with like Oracle, SIA, and kind of Gilbert's work with HM and England, obviously. Yeah. And that really made me think like, okay, so this guy has a ton of experience in the past in kind of legacy infrastructure, and now he seems to want to, like what I saw in Quant at first was Gilbert being someone so tied into the legacy system was set out to kind of build Quant to bridge like our legacy systems into this new world of blockchain and DLTs.
Yeah.
So sorry, did you have something to add?
No,
Okay.
I'm just agreeing with you, man.
Okay.
I love your story.
Yeah, so I saw that, and then I was pretty deep down the Quant rabbit hole for 3 to 4 months, just like constantly looking through any banking document and pretty much pressing Control F, interoperability, API gateways, all that kind of thing. And then eventually I started looking into Quant's other crypto partners. So I was like, okay, if a project is this powerful with this much connections and legacy, I think you should probably take a look at what partners in the crypto ecosystem that they're partnering with, because those would likely be much more likely to succeed and build a sustainable future and everything. So that got me diving into like Constellation Network, DAG, Unizen, LCX, Alliance Block, all the other projects that Quant is like connected to and working with.
Nice. Tim, did you make a note of this? The Quant with crypto connections?
Not yet, by making it now.
Thanks.
Oh, is this just for the timestamps?
Yeah. I think this there's a lot of people that's gonna find this particularly interesting because Quant, as you will know, and that I'm gonna keep this as short as I can. The crypto connections are kind of known, but also kind of unknown, and it's actually kind of FUD in a way within some circles that Quant is quote unquote only focusing on legacy. It's a bankster coin, blah blah blah, and people just go over the crypto partnerships pretty quickly, because most of the crypto partnerships suffer the same fate as Quant does, and that's that they're there's not much traffic, there's not much buzz, there's not much hype. It just goes down with Bitcoin. So it's and I said it, keep it short, so we'll keep it there.
Yeah, but about the quant partnerships, like on the crypto end, at least on the legacy end, we see development everywhere, right? Like we see LackChain coming live in 2023. We see what they've done with SIA, we've seen Oracle, we've seen all that. But on the crypto side, there's not too much development on the news, right? And the way I personally see this is every project Quant is partnering with on the crypto end is also looking to build out their own legitimate regulated ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
That takes
Definitely.
time and work. So the way I'm seeing it is they've established these partnerships, but they haven't really done too much yet, either because there's a lot to do, or because they haven't officially announced it, or just simply because both parties are trying to build like critical infrastructure essentially. So they want to lay that foundation first and then eventually come back to partner up together and actually set out on their goals.
I agree. And I think it's kind of the same approach as that we take, whereas we are mostly invested into QNT itself. And you just go into the more crypto partnerships of QNT. And I think that's a very valid approach. Because I think at the end of the day, the most potentially promising projects are early with Overledger and are early with the network. Yeah, right.
You simply cannot partner with Quant and not play by the rules. I mean, if you want to be a Quant partner, you need to play by the rules. You need to abide to regulation, future regulation that's not even here yet. I think there's some serious auditing, vetting going on prior to Quant saying, okay, we're gonna announce us as your partner. I think. Could be wrong.
I fully agree. Like when you've got someone like Gilbertisation as your CEO, I don't think he would want to partner with something like I don't want to use Tether because they fully they kind of gave their report today, but you know, something that might be used for money laundering.
Yep.
No.
But yeah, while we're on the topic of quant partnerships, I figured I'd share this little mind map of connections with some that do relate to quant. I'll just drop it in the chat, and I guess Yarno, you want to open and screen share? Oh, I'm just hoping it doesn't take a while to load.
I know Figma.
You know about Figma?
Well, no, yeah, I
Is it like Prezi?
Somewhat like Prezi.
Okay, I didn't know.
I use it in Backify. It's a pretty sophisticated. It's for graphic design. You can simply load in any plugin that you want, and it zooms in indefinitely. Well, maybe Tokenizer can explain it better, but it's
the way I like to kind of say it is it's a very easy to use and much more I guess simplified and portable version of Photoshop.
Interesting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is it like freeware, free to use? Because
it's free. Yes, it's completely free. If you want to use it at like a sort of enterprise level where you're like making new graphics every day, then you're gonna have to subscribe. But if you just have like one big map where you constantly just place screenshots in, it's really not that bad, and it's free.
Nice.
I'm gonna make a note of that as well.
Sign us up with the Quamfy Show Gmail account.
I will.
But yeah, so this little map is just kind of if you guys look in the middle, pretty much every one of these projects connect to Quant, right?
Yeah, I'm terrible with logos. The one on the right.
LCX.
The one you have your mouth. Yeah, so that one's LCX. The one below is the Lines block. That's Unison, and then up there is Constellation Network.
So yeah, I found it really interesting how every one of these quant partners not only is partnering with quant, but they're also partnering with each other in between this little network. So for example, like Quant's partnered with LCX, but then LCX is partnered with Constellation, and Constellation is also partnered with Quant, but they also happen to be partnered with Unison. And it just forms this like little circle of endless loops around it.
Interesting. Interesting. And you got all these articles in there.
Yeah, so those articles are talking about the partnerships. That article between Unison and Constellation Network is basically having them having Unison, which is an exchange that Gilbert Verdian's actually an advisor on. What they're planned to do there is to be running a Constellation Network's validator node on their platform, and then kind of distributing some of those node rewards back to the community of Unison. And what's really interesting about Unison itself is, yeah, so you guys are aware of Gilbert Verdian's ties to Unison, right?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you guys read that article that Unison posted, they also mentioned something at the end saying they'll be running an Overledger gateway on Unison's platform. I don't know if I put it in that screenshot, unfortunately, but this is just like going off the top of my head. They also did mention something regarding their incubator program, which is sort of the other component aside from their exchange that will be looking to incubate Quant's MDApps that are being built on there in the future. So I think that's a really cool concept, because how their incubator is working at the moment is they take in projects, and part of the tokens paid as a fee to take it into their incubator is paid out to their community. So I think in the future, we could potentially see multi-ledger tokens being distributed out to Unison just holders.
Interesting. Multi-ledger token, that got my brain racing. Been part of the discussion in some groups for the last couple of days. There's so much going on in this space, man. Like you said, it's such a freaking
It's
rabbit
crazy.
hole.
Yeah, I always say it, but crypto is really a full-time job if you're trying to be active in here.
Yes.
And I'm not sure, I think Jordan must feel the same. I feel like the speed on the background is getting higher again for some reason. It could also be just RFA catching up with reality. That could very well be, but
I feel everything is picking up, just like you said with the MLT stuff, and what's going on with the stable coins, and it seems like everybody's coming out with some sort of partnership nugget revelation. They're starting with crypto, or being compatible with. Sorry for interrupting again.
No, it's fine. It's just
excited.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like, at least for me, that COVID is kind of over. The restrictions of working from home are kind of getting lifted. So you see the entire circus speeding up again.
I think that point is definitely true. Like we're definitely like recovering. Our recovery from COVID is definitely accelerating. Maybe not on the financial side, where we're still kind of in a mess around the world, but just like
absolutely.
If you look at the labor force and unemployment rate charts, it does show we're approaching back to levels before pre-COVID, which is, I guess if you look at it like that, probably a good sign, because it means we're like going back to levels of production that we were at before we had this like shortage of labor.
Yeah. Yeah, the main issue now is the supply chains, really, and in fact, many economies are overheating, so there are more jobs than there are people willing to work. So that's also very interesting.
I think, I don't know. I think not to get too deep on the macroeconomic side of things, but I think a recession isn't out of the question, or at least a short-term one.
No. Yeah, that will be difficult.
It will be, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But yeah, pretty much the reason I wanted to share this little mind map was just
mind map. My God, dude, this is a fuck ton of work. just getting this structured and organized is making my brain melt. If I would try this, it would be just same as I bake a cake. Be a
Yeah, this is definitely. Can we? Do we have the rights to share this in our comments, or is it your private work?
Anyone with the link can view it. So if you guys want to check it
you
out,
can view it. Oh, sure. We'll put it in the description.
But before I confirm that, Yarno, do you want to try like clicking on one of the images and seeing if you can delete it? I just want to make sure like people can't mess around with it, and like I log in and someone's just like deleted all my work.
Yeah.
I don't
fair
know,
enough.
but it's just my. I don't want to do this, but just by clicking now,
Like click on one of the screenshots, like I don't know, just like one of their articles. Okay, so you're not able to delete it. You can just view it. So yeah, feel free to share it, and anyone who wants to like dig in deeper on these other projects, not just Quant, and also their partnerships, feel free to do so.
Yeah, definitely. We'll put it in the description. So if you want to look at it yourself, go to the description of either our video on YouTube or the podcast you're listening right now on your favorite audio platform. You can see it. But hey, Tokenicer. So yeah, we're talking about the connections of QNT to other cryptos, but you're completely free to talk about your. Huh?
I'm logged in now.
Yeah.
I can't delete things.
Great. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. But hey, you're completely free to talk about your portfolio with us. So,
okay,
what do you invest in? Really, that's interesting stuff. I mean, and me are sad quant maxis. So, how's the world out there?
I wouldn't say I associate myself as a quant maxi just because I do talk about all these other projects, but I have said it before. And especially during that interview I did with Greg just 2 weeks back, it really made me feel kind of back at home, so to speak, because I feel like whenever I'm running around digging through all these projects, whether it's like Quant, Alliance Block, Morpheus Network, whatever, those all kind of sprang from my sort of passion for digging deeper into quant and realizing there's more to crypto than just like looking at charts. There's like digging into documents and reading between the lines and everything. And I feel like because I kind of started that off with quant, whenever I do go back and dig up more research on quant, I'm like, I kind of miss this. As much fun as it is reading into like federal defense contracts from Constellation. So Constellation's partnered with the US Department of Defense, and they've landed a phase 2 contract, which is pretty impressive. And reading that stuff is definitely like interesting and stuff, kind of learning about how stuff moves at the federal military level. But I don't know, something about reading about API gateways and digging through banking documents to see mentions of ISO and stuff, that just really makes me feel back at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess to really answer your question, in terms of portfolio management and everything, quant is my largest position. It's at about 55%. There was a point where it was like eating up about 80% of my portfolio when everything was still up.
Yeah.
That's definitely the one I'd say I've allocated the most capital to. Constellation Network is my second biggest bag. So DAG, that is a quant partner. And what they are partnering to do is to actually create the idea of smart cities to become a reality. So that's like implementing IoT into every part of our daily lives. And I don't know, I think honestly, that might be, even if there's not much development on it, I think in terms of crypto to crypto partnerships, or even just crypto to legacy partnerships, that is the biggest idea out there. Like when you're talking about implementing IoT into like every aspect of our daily lives, that's like actual innovation that we'll get to see every day, right?
I remember some FUD. Well, I think I remember some FUD that the quant DAG partnership was actually over? Can you maybe respond to that?
I've never actually heard of anything like that. That's the first time I've heard about it, at least.
Same here. Can't recall that.
Who and where? There was obviously it was something stupid like the logo was of the website, or Constellation. That's it. They had their own solution for interoperability, and they didn't need Quant for that. So, or is that AOBT? There's so much bullshit going on in this space.
Aren't you talking about Link itself?
No.
With CCIP? Or is that
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, okay, so Constellation does have their own interoperability solution, but it doesn't scale to the level of how Quant does it. And I actually had just a tech guy explain this to me on like a better scale, because he obviously understands it on the technical level better. And I'm not gonna act like I understood everything he said, but pretty much to break it down simply in layman's terms, he's saying Constellation is able to solve interoperability at still a multi-chain level, so kind of like how Quant's doing it, and they're able to scale that outside of just blockchain. So the way Constellation works is they break everything down on their network to raw data. And that's essentially what transactions are, right? The way we're communicating right now even is just through data.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how they operate. And the way they get their interoperability is by referencing different data points on different networks. Now that works well, but when you build that out to a full scale, for some reason, according to just a tech guy, it doesn't scale out to like a global internet scale where it can handle like, I don't know, essentially like half the world on it at all times.
Yeah.
And I think when you're talking about smart cities and IoT and connecting the world together, essentially, you need that internet scale of interoperability that Quant offers. Because I think what DAG will offer, or Constellation, is the cybersecurity and encryption of these smart cities and all the data flowing. Because to describe Constellation in one word or one sentence, I think would just be your own data pipeline that you can customize to your own likings and your own consensus. So I think the flow of data will be up to Constellation in that partnership, but I think you still need the interoperability scale of Quant to have this become a reality and connect them all together.
Okay, so it's more of an end user solution than it is for a government skill.
For Constellation?
Yeah. So is the Constellation solution then more of a you install it in your Tesla, and everything that is in there can communicate? And I'm breaking my brain on this.
The way Constellation does it is I find them actually a really nice middle ground between retail and just federal government levels, because you know how like with Ethereum and Solana and everything, that's like very retail sided. There's like next to zero utility for governments on there, right? Constellation's different because of well, I just mentioned their partnership with the Department of Defense, right? That obviously shows some demand on the federal level as opposed to the retail level. So that partnership is actually to connect all the agencies in the US Department of Defense together. So that would be like the Navy in the sea, the Air Force in the sky, and the military troops on the ground. So they are being seen as a use of interoperability at a certain level. I think it'll more so be used for connecting legacy IT infrastructures together versus Quant, where you're not just connecting blockchain to blockchain, but you're connecting legacy to blockchain, or even at times legacy to legacy.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's kind of how I see it, and kind of how just a tech guy kind of broke it down for me.
And sort of being a moon boy here, but how is Constellation doing, like in terms of price and then in terms of tokenomics and stuff? I get the story behind it. I mean, I'm just interested in how is the. It's obviously not doing well, but
I had the same question, Tim. I had the same
myself
question.
for just interesting entries into the rest of the market, because I
When
don't know
moon,
if there
brother, when moon.
no, I mean, truly, if there is a moment to get into crypto and to get into other projects, I think we are near bottom levels at the moment. So I'm just looking for interesting entries left and right.
You know, I'd agree that I think we are near a bottom. I know you guys probably don't like try to integrate any, if much, technical analysis in here, so we'll keep that part up.
But it's interesting. Yeah.
Okay, but I don't know, just a quick sentence from a technical analysis standpoint. I think Bitcoin will likely still retest the 200-week moving average. We haven't done so since the start of COVID when everything hit. And I think after a good year or so of just like, I mean, we've ran up like 10x from well over 10x from our bottoms of like 3K in COVID. So I don't think a retest of that is too crazy to think. It's at about $22,000 right now.
You're saying Bitcoin will touch 3K again?
No, 22K.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, that's just how I'm seeing it. I don't have a crystal ball or anything. But in terms of Constellation's price, obviously that hasn't been the best. Nothing's been that great in the markets lately with what happened to Terra. But what they do have going on for them is they have a program for staking for a soft node, and that's supported through their trademark exchange on their platform, Lattice Exchange. Pretty much how that works is as long as a user provides sufficient collateral for a node, which is 250,000 DAG at the moment, they just have to lock that DAG and they get the rewards from a node. So I think that's somewhere around 10-15% APY at the moment.
DAG is a dime right now.
It's a dime. Okay.
Was that 10 cents, right?
I think I saw it go as low as like 7 cents at one point, but yeah.
Yeah. So if we look at the max, catch that. Yeah, last year it was
Shot up to like 45 cents. Yeah.
45 cents, and now it's about 10 cents.
About 10 cents. So yeah, what I was bringing up about the nodes for was just essentially there's a lot of demand for staking on these nodes. So that definitely helps with easing off the sell pressure for now, at least, because people are incentivized to kind of lock their tokens and continue earning a yield on it.
Yeah. So it's a market cap of 278 million. Trade volume of about 1 million. Position under 56. What's the?
I feel like if you're trying to look for bargains in this market, this is the moment to start accumulating again.
Yeah, if you have the balls.
I mean, I'm already fully in quant, but if you're just starting, and this is not financial advice, but look at some of those other cryptos. There are some gems out there.
What's that?
Definitely, yeah.
3.5 billion tokens. And two
Yeah, so
and a half billion circulating.
I know the teams actually burnt all their tokens, just like they said, out of goodwill. I don't know if that is priced in there for sure yet.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you'd have to like go in the white papers and check and everything, but that's probably a rabbit hole for another time.
Yeah.
But where were we? I think we were talking about, I guess we went over to Constellation because we were talking about how my portfolio allocations were. Hey?
Your shitcoin portfolio now. We always troll that because we're quant maxis.
You know, I can't blame you guys.
So what else? Because you got the Constellation, the price hasn't tanked as much as I expected compared to many others. I mean, from 40 cents back to 10 cents, that isn't that bad. The volume is terrible though.
Oh yeah, but yeah, if you guys want to see some charts that don't look as pretty, we can go down my portfolio and pretty much the charts are gonna look worse.
Now let's just pick two other projects, because I am curious, because what we said is, what my thinking was is, if somebody is in quant and he knows quant and you know quant, I think you're pretty well read on it. And why would you hold something else? I mean, you got your brain, you got 55% of your worth in QNT, and no matter how you slice it, 55% is more than half. So let's say you have about 10 tokens. That means that's a pretty big allocation for quant, but you still have other tokens on the side. No, DAG is one. What's your second largest or third largest?
My third largest, this isn't going to be really interesting. We did go over this a bit off air, but it's Ethereum. And kind of the reasoning for that is because it's one of the few assets out there that you can collateralize as a loan. So we were kind of talking about that in the article we were going over, right? How
Yeah.
if you have an asset that you can collateralize into a loan, you're much more liquid, because now you don't actually have to sell the asset and realize those gains, which are taxable. But you can kind of keep the asset, and if it continues to go up, your loan to value drops a fair bit. So if you want, you can get some of your assets back and reloan that out for more.
Interesting. I never ever looked into that. I need to do some more research on that, because this entire concept is pretty foreign to me. What deters me the most with collateralized loans is that you need to provide about, from what I saw, twice or 1.5 to twice the amount that you want to borrow.
Yeah, so that's for kind of just like your own safety, because if it's backed 1-to-1, if it falls a certain amount, it'll hit your liquidation price like a lot sooner, if that sort of makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
And like the collateralized loans that I tend to use are backed 25% loan to value. So pretty much if I supply you with $1,000, I only get $250 back.
Yeah.
Now that's the lowest reward, but it's also the lowest risk, because your risk of liquidation is it has to fall 75% now, right?
Yeah. It works like that.
So what other tokens do you have besides DAG?
Okay, so I guess I could just quickly list off my portfolio from, yeah, okay, so after DAG, I've got Alliance Block, then LCX, Unizen, XDC, Hedera Hashgraph, Vector Space AI, and then just a little bit of Bitcoin.
Okay, so you have nearly the same portfolio as I do. I also own all those tokens that you just named, except for the XDC, and that's Xinfin, right?
Yes, that's Xinfin.
Yeah, and I noticed you were on Twitter in the space with, forgot his name, but you guys were talking XDC a lot.
Probably
And
Citizens of the Future.
yes, that's
Yeah,
the one.
good buddy of mine.
And
Utility theory, right?
Yeah, utility theory.
Yeah, and I listened to that talk for a bit, and you guys were like, oh, and XDC, and it's also, and God knows what, and I was like, wait, what? How can these guys be into quant and also into the XDC? Because most of the times when I see XDC passing on my Twitter feed, it's a bunch of like, okay, what? No, that's not XDC. So, okay, what can you tell us about XDC before I thrash it even more and I look like a bigger idiot than I already do? Please tell me, enlighten us. Teach
okay,
us.
I'm not the most well versed in XDC. Citizens or utility theory actually has some YouTube videos regarding XDC and the overall ecosystem that break it down into really deep detail. But what I can tell you is much similar to Quant, they are working in the trade finance industry, but more so of what they're obviously Quant is doing far more than trade finance, right? But what Xinfin is kind of looking to do with their main initiatives at the moment is They have joined the ITFA, so that is the International Trade and Forfeiting Association. And a lot of what they're doing is trying to push this new initiative of something called MLETR. So that's Model Law on Electronic Transfer Records. And simply what it wants to do is turn every trading document into a digital trading document. Because at the moment, every trade document, like countries trade commodities and goods back and forth, right?
Mhm.
So all those records have to be kept on paper by law right now.
Yeah, that's what it was about. The amount of paper being used and yeah. Continue.
Yeah, and if you stack all those papers up, I think it measures to like, I think it was like 54 statues of liberty, and that's just in a year alone. So the initiative for some of the kind of groups that are joined is to digitalize all of trading, and pretty much that initiative of MLETR came out from the United Nations itself. So in a sense, they are kind of indirectly working and supporting the United Nations. And what I mentioned about the ITFA, so they're pretty much one of the biggest trade finance kind of organizations out there. And they've got guys with them who have like worked years at Swift. And then they've got other companies that they're working alongside with, like HSBC, R3, a lot of those other banking and some legal companies too.
There was something interesting that I'm trying to get to the front of my brain, because in that talk you guys were talking about if you send something in the realm of a shipping container from A to B, how much paper that would take and how many signatures, and there was this outrageous amount of paper and cost involved, and that constituted to a certain percentage of the costs of shipping stuff. Does that ring a bell, or am I just talking?
It rings a bell, but the problem is we've had multiple of these spaces and we've probably like repeated that multiple times. So I honestly can't remember which space exactly it was at the moment.
Yeah, because to me that illustrated why what XDC provides could actually be an asset, but I totally forgot. So maybe you can. Tim is laughing again. Maybe can you remember that example, because I still don't really feel what XDC is solving right now, besides then trying to eliminate paper.
So that's just one part of it. The other part is they are a layer one, so much like your Solanas, your Ethereums, Hedera Hashgraph, all those kind of things. So what I have my reasoning for XDC is it's kind of my bet on the layer one ecosystem. I do think that eventually there will be some successful layer ones, and while a lot of these are sort of have their own problems, like Solana's shutting down more than once a month, Ethereum fees are absolutely through the roof, Binance is just a copy of Ethereum, so is Tron. I'll stop shitting on all these other layer ones, but
no, this is the Quamfy show. We shit on everything.
I love how you mentioned that the number
we
9.
need them all.
Pardon?
What? What were you saying, Jorno?
We need them all. We need all those blockchains to interoperate.
All right.
Yeah. No, but I love how you just casually dropped how the number 9 network. Oh yeah, it just shuts off every now and then.
It does though.
What kind of reliability is that? It's like going to a bank and saying, "Oh yeah, we're just closed every now and then." Yeah,
I know we're normally open on Mondays, but yeah, we just decided to close today.
Yeah, you need your money.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just Solana being in the top 10 is it fascinates me a bit, because if you're talking about a protocol like this, like I'll just use Constellation as an example again. So Constellation has their partnership with the US Department of Defense, right? Now imagine if Solana had landed that partnership instead of Constellation, and Solana is working with the Department of Defense, and Solana happens to shut down just once. What do you think the Department of Defense is doing with that contract on the first time they shut down?
Yeah, that's over.
they're scrapping that because
Yeah.
when you're securing federal information and you shut down, they can't have that happening. So yeah, Solana fascinates me a bit. I guess since we're here to shit on some other layer ones, Cardano ADA, they've been talking about smart contracts for God knows how long now. There's no actual adoption on the platform whatsoever from what I've seen. Like, I haven't seen anyone saying I'm using this DeFi platform on Cardano, or I bought this NFT off Cardano. And then
Yeah, but but are NFTs and those things really the adoption that we're looking
no,
for?
it's not. But I just mean, like, when you're not even showing adoption there,
Yeah,
how do you
exactly.
expect any adoption, right?
Yeah. If you can't even manage to do that, then yeah, you're a sorry excuse for a blockchain.
Algorand, I don't actually have that much bad to talk about. I am a fan of Algorand. They are working with ISO and they come from MIT, which we know Quant has some works with. So I'll spare Algo for today. Hedera Hashgraph, I actually do hold some HBAR, but their tokenomics are pretty ugly, I'd say. There's no vesting on the tokens whatsoever. And
what do the tokens do?
I believe Hedera Hashgraph has, here, I'll take a look right now. They have a total of 50 billion and circulating is at 20 million. So a bit under 50%.
Okay. But what does the token do? Because that's usually the question that I ask myself before I get into even thinking about buying a token.
Yeah, so the HBAR token is mainly used for just like kind of payments on their platform, and then you need a certain amount to run as a validator on their network. And so running a node on Hedera Hashgraph does take a fair amount of computation power and in return capital. So another use case for their token is just staking it onto other validators and kind of giving them more voting rights for the ones that you want.
Okay.
But yeah, I've kind of gone down the list of layer ones, and yeah, so back to XDC. Just based on kind of what the what I had to say about these layer ones, I found XDC to sort of be the most prominent in a sense that was actually providing a real solution. They also work as a hybrid blockchain, so they have sort of stuff for the retail side to use. So they have stuff building around like NFTs and the metaverse and all that kind of stuff. But then they also have a lot of products in their ecosystem that are really sided towards institutional and enterprise trade finance. So that would be like trading platforms for certain tokenized assets. And the other thing that kind of sold me on them as a layer one was that they're very well connected relative to any other layer one. Like when you look at like, again, like Solana, Ethereum, ADA, they don't really have any connections to legacy infrastructure. What XDC has is connections to some of the biggest names in trade finance. So I think it was that really made me think like, okay, I think this is the bet I want for my layer ones.
Interesting. And what legacy partners are they connected to them? Because you...
in there, so we mentioned the International Trade and Forfeiting Association, right?
Yes.
So in that little it's basically like have you guys looked into, yeah, I'm sure you guys have looked into like Hyperledger and Mobi and how Quant are in those along with like a bunch of others. So that's kind of how their connections work at the moment. And then something I really like to do is looking at the team and where the teams previously worked before, because since crypto is still such a new area, someone who's got like a really comfortable position in say like Apple or something wouldn't want to leave their position as like say CTO of Apple to start a crypto startup.
Yeah, it depends if you want to create Ponzonomics and just get rich from a single rug pool. That could be a very interesting idea.
Yeah, that's definitely another point. But so the one of the advisors at XDC, he's worked, I believe, I'll actually pull this up right now, but see, he has worked for 24 years at Swift, and I just felt like someone who's worked at Swift as their managing director for the global head of supply chains wouldn't just kind of hop into the crypto space and build something related to trade finance kind of here when he's got all this experience kind of in the legacy infrastructure. And then
that's true and fair, yet and I'm just being a dick right now, but being an advisor is not a full-time job. So
no, it's not. Yeah,
there could be a low risk, easy money, who cares if this blows up kind of decision.
It definitely is, because most times being an advisor isn't a full-time job, right? Like it's kind of just something people do in the background. The other interesting thing with this guy's background is he's also an advisor and director for multiple of the other projects in the XDC ecosystem. So that kind of made me feel like, okay, he seems like he actually kind of wants some sort of deeper affiliations with the ecosystem and kind of what he's building it towards to. And then
that makes sense. It's kind of what Gilbert does with what's that, the Unison?
With Unison, yeah, similar to that. But then also this guy has this guy's name is Andre Casterman, for anyone who wants to look him up or anything.
Casterman, it's a Dutch guy.
He is it Dutch? Okay,
I don't know. Andre Casterman sounds really Dutch to me.
Okay, I'll take
German.
Andre Casterman. Oh, that's also a possibility.
So this guy who's the advisor for XDC is also the chairman for, or he's just one of the chairs. He's not the chairman, but he's one of the chairs for the ITFA, which is the that sort of international trade and forfeiting association we were referring to, that has guys from like HSBC, R3, and all these like trade finance companies in there. And the way XDC got brought into the ITFA was actually through this guy saying like, hey, I have a bunch of experience in the trade finance industry, and what these guys doing at XDC would seem like they've really helped the initiatives we're looking to push.
I think he's Belgian, by the way.
Yeah. University of Brussels talks about DLT payments, trade finance, digital assets, and asset management. Casterman Advisory. Andre Casterman. Sorry.
Yeah, but that's a little summary of what kind of sold me on XDC. They are also mentioned a fair amount of times by the World Trade Organization and the International Chamber of Commerce. So I think those connections are pretty, I guess, relieving to see coming from an investor, seeing that they have those connections to kind of some of the biggest names in that respective industry.
Yeah. Cool. And no, we're not going to give financial advice. Interesting. Thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
And then, that's a big part of what I base kind of my portfolio allocations off of, just kind of like connections they have to kind of infrastructure that's already laid out there.
Yeah.
But I think that's important. I always try to keep an open mind. That is obviously difficult now in this position because I completely went with the flow. I was like, okay, let's just go with QNT. I'm not sure if that's the best decision, honestly, because there's always opportunity costs with this approach. But yeah, I made up my mind. I made this decision, I made this plan. But it's always good to know at least what's going on in the rest of crypto, because when the market hits these kind of lows, where, well, I see you're not disagreeing with me in the background.
No.
Let me finish this.
Go on.
But when Bitcoin is also moving back to the 200, is it the 200-day moving average?
200 week
200 week moving average.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't seen this kind of behavior since the March 2020 lows. Then you know it is time to accumulate again. And,
yeah, this is where money is being made.
Exactly. This is the time to kind of look into decent stuff. And especially when you see those gems in the top 200 and Quant is already top 60. There's always an opportunity there to at least devote a little bit of your portfolio into those kind of coins. So I think it's really interesting to just keep an eye on the market, because those are all valid projects, and when the market picks up, you can make a ton of money taking a relatively low risk. There's also one thing I'm really thinking about CheckD. We talked about this before with self-sovereign identity, and it's kind of also bottoming at the moment. So do you own any CheckD tokenizer, or?
I believe I
Aware of
own a
CheckD?
very little amount, just because they are working with Unison. So I've gotten it just from like staking Unison, but no, I've never
Oh,
actually
yeah.
like, bought any CheckD yet.
Okay.
I have looked a bit into the project, and I do think it's pretty cool.
Mhm.
Like the idea of SSIDs, I think, are here to stay, and I think eventually, like with more development in like kind of digital ownership and everything, SSIDs will definitely continue to play a role. And I think it's something I personally see Quant playing a role in too, because you're going to need identities to be interoperable on different platforms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Sure.
when I did some digging yesterday, I also found a Gilbert quote somewhere. I'm not gonna look it up. I can't remember what I was looking for, but it had something to do with that they quote unquote solved identity. They solved the interoperability for that, and something else, and that's what kept me from investing in CheckD. I always try and look for a moat. Like what does this project have that makes it really difficult for competitors to eat their lunch, if that makes sense. And for Q&T, to me, that's the patents. That's a decent moat, because the layers that are the meat and potatoes of the protocol are patent pending, which is just awesome. Gilbert's CV is so super hyper relevant in all the spaces that he is trying to market his product. So even if somebody manages to circumvent the patents and comes up with the same solution, they still don't have the same reputation, the same connections, the same history, personal history, which is so important, as Gilbert does. So those two things alone make Quant, to me, a very strong investment, and a really difficult party to simply destroy or overtake. It makes it a lot more unfuckwithable than in this case a CheckD that kind of quotes just creates self-sovereign identity. I think, and the same with L1s. There will be another L1 eventually, because it's ride or die. You need to keep scaling. When you're a level 1, you need to keep innovating. You need to keep getting faster, more secure. Keeping up with the Joneses is a reality for an L1. That's why I love Quant being an OS. It doesn't matter who wins the L1 race. You have to have a beer winner. I mean, even Vitalik said the future is multi-chain. And Gilbert's seen it. Gilbert's done that. So I feel the same about CheckD and HBAR and all the other solutions. I would sleep with one eye open, holding the vast majority of my my worth in those tokens. And I think Ethereum will not live forever either.
No,
think-
I agree with that. Yeah. Like, did you have anything else to add to that before?
No, just more gibberish and repeating myself.
Okay. No, I completely agree with that. And like, I don't know, Quant is my largest position for a reason, right? Like, you can't deny those connections laid on that team. Here, actually, I wanted to just put this image in here real quick. I know you guys have shared this image once. Yes, I just dumped it into.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's one I made a while back just because I was like, you know what, I want to see like just how much these connections.
You made this.
Yeah, I made this one.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, yeah, we shared this a bunch of times. Yeah, applause.
Oh, okay.
This is the one where you see the Quant logo on the top with the Quant brand name. Underneath you see the team lined up with Gilbert, Lara, Martin, Carrier, Dietrich, Smith, and Luke Riley.
Yeah,
And then all the partners and the links.
pretty much. Yeah, all the
And,
connections.
and,
I think
and
I've got to update that sometime soon, though. There's been a bit more that's come out,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I wanted to visualize that for the people. I'll also put this in the description so you can.
Yeah, it was pretty funny that I brought this up today because I occasionally get people posting about it saying like, oh, this is a great graphic, and then I'll come in and be like, yeah, I'll probably have to start stamping my work now because
Oh,
there
we
was this.
copyrighted fucking. Okay, I'm not gonna share this.
Oh no, you can share it. No, it's not like actually copyrighted. I just meant like
Yeah.
there's some people that are just like ripping it off and being
Yeah.
like, yeah. So I commented that just like a while back, and I actually got a DM today from someone saying, you didn't make this graphic. Stop trying to take credit for work you didn't do. So
Oh wow.
yeah, I think I tweeted about it earlier today, and I actually had to like pull up the Photoshop document and be like, okay, is that why I'm able to like mess around with all these layers? But
People are such thieves and bastards, man. That's why we freaking need everything to. Oh well.
yeah, I mean, pretty much the reason I wanted to pull this up quickly was just kind of your point of saying there's other layer ones out there, like you know, we just listed off a ton of them, like Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, and all that stuff. But with Quant, not only are they an OS where there's like little to no competition out there for in the crypto world, but even if, let's say, hypothetically, someone forms a interoperability solution that's built around an OS, that's great. But do they have those connections to the Bank of England or to SIA or to wherever else Quant is connected to? Do they have Guy Dietrich and Neil Smith as their advisors who have pretty much worked at like global elite level companies?
I don't
agree.
think so.
No.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, it's not just the product of Overledger itself that's so amazing, right? It's the connections the team has, the potential for these connections to kind of like unravel and for that network effect to take off.
Yes. And this, oh, you're no.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, because
Please.
I want to move to the final part of the episode. And that is the questions. I forgot to put the questions on 24 hours in advance. So I just put the questions on Instagram, like when we were like 40 minutes into this episode. And some people did actually use it. So I have one question here for you guys. Can the Quant project fail? Can Quant Network and Overledger fail? What's your take?
Can it fail? I've actually thought about this before. I think on the regulatory side of things, obviously like anything is possible in this world, but I think on the regulator side of things, logically, it doesn't seem like it would fail due to regulations because Gilbert himself is essentially like, he's worked in a regulator sort of position. So I think in that sense, it can't fail. I think in the sense of a newer, better technology, maybe like 5-10 years down the line, we might see quantum computing and stuff like that. But even then, I've read stuff about why quant would kind of still be like utilized even in a quantum computing environment. So the only way I really see them failing is like, I don't know if it'd have to be something unfortunate, like if Gilbert Verdian got like kidnapped or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's interesting that you went back to what are points of failure for a company like that, and I think there's different answers for different situations. Indeed, when you look at the tech, it seems like it's infinitely scalable and updatable and stuff because well, the way it's created, it's not a blockchain itself. So on the tech side, yeah, it will probably be okay. On the regulation side, it will probably be okay. And I use the word probably because, yeah, obviously things can go wrong, heaven forbid. But imagine everything going live and there's a back door somewhere and the super secure overledger network gets fucked and the Federal Reserve gets drained. That would be pretty bad. It's not it's not very logical, but it could technically happen. Yeah, and then you got like the team composition. I mean, they have a bunch of global elite world stars, as you just pointed out. I think it takes more than just kidnapping Gilbert. I think the team by now is.
Let's say the whole team gets kidnapped. Well, no, because any project would die in that sense, hey?
Yeah.
I mean, there would be a scenario, I think, where the project would fail, but not necessarily the project, because that is ultimately not what we are interested in. I think that the risk here, in terms of can it fail, is in the price of QNT itself. So people need to understand that Overledger will work. Regardless of the price, it will work. If the price is high, we will have enough Verdians to cover that. And when the price is low, you will simply buy more QNT. So it will always work. But I think there could be this scenario in the crypto markets where everything just crashes down, fade is gone, and we will enter a very long recession and bear market. That could be painful.
No effect on the company whatsoever.
But that won't have a lot of effect on the company. But still, that could be a scenario where things go bad.
Well, yes, if you take a recession into account and just like overall prices going down, yes, that would be bad. But fundamentally, that doesn't affect the company whatsoever, right? That's not going to stop them from continuing to develop. And yeah, I agree that in the short to medium term, if that does happen, that will have a negative price on the token. But to say it's failed because it's entered a recession and pretty much all prices are down, I think that might be an overstatement. Because I think one day, once we escape that recession, we will see value pumping back into it.
Even if we don't, because now we are assuming that all value of the token is currently created or will be created by the crypto sphere. And at the moment that is true. The price currently is all speculation because we have no dashboard, we have no real factual information of any traffic on the network. That's also the main point of FUD right now. That's why everybody wants WEN gateways. But even if there's going to be a huge recession and everything is going to tank another 90% from here, there will still be the people scooping up the QNTs, people like you and I. And what is interesting is even if you go through the most heavy recession and the most terrible depression, even the companies that Quant is involved with are not the cryptosphere companies. So they are involved with the Oracles and the Microsofts and the Googles of this world, and the reserves and the SIAs, and all those companies will have revenue regardless. All those companies will have traffic no matter what. SIA, Nexi, will always have payments going over the network because it will always be Black Friday somewhere in whenever the fuck that is. And people will still buy shit at Christmas, and people will buy cars and drive their cars and all that stuff. And in the end, that will all add up to traffic going over the Overledger network. So even if everything tanks and faith in crypto gets destroyed, there will still be utility going on.
Yeah, but I wouldn't discard this scenario that it will get a very that might get very dark. And the trick is,
The
will
token
you?
price will get dark, not the
Yeah,
business,
but
not the company.
the question is, will you hold on?
Well,
Ultimately,
was that the question?
I know that that's not the question, but that is
Oh.
the personal question. Like, will you manage to hold on to your assets?
Yeah, of
Will you
course.
keep the faith?
Of course.
I mean, I think that depends on the person's timeline too, right? Like there's some people who are older who might not have as long as a time horizon where, I don't know, maybe they're approaching retirement and kind of need that money soon. So if we do enter a recession, maybe quant might not be the best idea and some safer investments might, but someone with a longer time horizon who's done their research and seen the scale of what quant could grow out to be, I think, yeah, under a normal circumstances where you're not forced to sell, it makes sense to obviously hold, right?
Yeah. But you're never sure. Yeah, I think obviously failing is a possibility, but I think the odds of that happening are quite small. And obviously, I think everyone who has been investing in QNT has been thinking of all the scenarios, me included. And there is a reason I'm so deeply taking this risk, but I am not discarding it ultimately. I think there is still a possibility that something goes wrong and that we have been overlooking it all the time. But it is, at the same time, it is very difficult to find that. And we also have a community that is trying to dig out everything. But I still think we should remain skeptical until the very end, because there might be something we all see in plain sight and we don't notice.
Quant made revenue 10 million in 2019. We know that. And then it was still a startup, only 2-3 years old. By now the team has 10x.
Sure.
And so that is most likely also something. No, but I think the point is everything can fail. That's true. I mean, fucking Boeing nearly crashed and burned. But the startup phase is the most difficult. The first couple of years is the most difficult to get the revenue going, to get the product going. There's no doubt about demand. There's no doubt, in my mind at least, on the product, on the team. Can it fail? Of course it can fail. But the chances are so small right now.
Yeah, we're probably exaggerating that possibility. But still, it is crypto. Look at what happened to Luna. Barely a couple of weeks ago, we were...
Luna had no existence outside of crypto. Now, if you look at it, their meat and potatoes was in crypto.
Sure, but that it was still crypto. Yeah, I mean, it was still in the top 10. It was still, they had dApps running on it. It was still a network that was functioning with one main thing that went wrong.
Is not reliant on crypto because it's fiat based.
I know, but there is still
No.
I think it's naive to just assume that nothing will go wrong.
No, it won't.
Well, I think it's we do have to take into account that things could potentially go wrong, but I think we also have that safety blanket to fall back on to say, like, okay, well, if it doesn't work out in the crypto ecosystem, like I think Hungarian Horntail actually brought this up in one of you guys' previous shows, but he said crypto as a whole could go away and quant Overledger would still have its own use case.
Yep.
And so the way I kind of see quant and some of these other utility tokens is they just happen to be accessible in the crypto markets, but in reality, they don't operate like your normal crypto asset would.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm still kind of skeptical. If things
that's
go
why you
wrong,
get a tummy ache every time the price tanks. You don't believe.
I mean, so we are still far from adoption, and that is a serious risk.
Far from adoption.
Yeah, we are still far from adoption everywhere. Yeah, I mean, crypto itself isn't adopted. And we have only some comfort. I mean, there
crypto is just a name for what we think we are in. Crypto is nothing.
I think crypto itself isn't so close to adoption, but I think blockchain and DLT has seen more adoption than we've realized, and that's where
Yeah.
Quant really lies, right? It's not we don't really see them as a just crypto project, but they're a project, or they're a company that's built around interoperating blockchain and DLT and legacy systems.
True. I just wouldn't personally discard the possibility that something goes terribly wrong. Not
No,
sure
I
where
think
that
that's,
will happen. We don't know where, because if we knew, we would be rich. But yeah.
I think that is definitely something to keep into account, and I think you should keep that into account with any investment, right? Like you never know when something could go wrong. Like even when you're investing in like the S&P 500, which is the market index for like the US economy, like we've seen stuff go wrong there, and like it's not exactly how or what goes wrong and how badly you fall from it, but it's how you recover too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah,
like,
I think
question.
I think that the rest of the rest of the questions are. So, do we think we will ever go back to all-time high? I'm not even going to answer that question. What happens when? I mean, come on. What happens? I don't have to ask you guys. What happens when the supply of quant runs out? Well, we will get a supply shock, I think, and then
It's a mathematical impossibility. The supply can never ever run out because we have the 18 decimal things. So that's 14.6 septillion verdians. That's like 5 million times the amount of sand grains in the world. Ish. Ballpark.
yeah, I think
go ahead.
Oh, I think people misconceptualize the idea. Yes, quant is really scarce. It's 33% more scarce than Bitcoin. And we've seen somewhat of a supply shock on actually quant and Bitcoin. But the thing is, people think of these in relative numbers. They think 1 quant, 2 quant, 3 quant, but like they don't take into account, especially with the licensing lockup, the fact that eventually if 1 quant is too much to lock up, they're just going to lock up 0.1 quant or 0.001 quant, and then one day maybe like 0.00001 quant. Those numbers are just infinitely divisible down to like the 18th decimal, and to get there, well, quant would need quite an insane market cap.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, true.
It does. And the interesting part is to be able to utilize the verdians, price needs to go up. And the good thing, because everything on Overledger network works with fiat, that means that the price can go up indefinitely. It doesn't matter to the network, it doesn't matter to quant network, and it doesn't matter to the clients what the QNT price is. The QNT price could be 10 million a token. I'm not saying it will get there this year, but it doesn't matter for the functionality of the network at all, because the fiat price remains the same. You just get fewer QNT for the price. So you get
I really believe that fixing their prices to fiat really has their system laid out like almost, I don't want to say perfectly because that's like a really strong way to put it, but like in a structure that will be like actually sustainable, right? Because for I'll use Ethereum as an example, but to run as a validator node on Ethereum, you need 32 Ethereum. That's priced out like a large majority of people, because that's like, I think that's almost 6 figures now. So when you fix it to the price of fiat, it doesn't matter what price the token gets to. The only reason the fiat, or the only reason the payments are made in the token is because that's how the network runs. You can pay in fiat, but everything on the back end will be converted into QNT payments.
I'm just going to go to the last part of this episode, like the final part. I'm just going to share my screen for a bit and show you guys something exciting. Thanks, by the way, for the way we tackled the questions. Wait, yeah, here we are. Happy 50K, guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey!
I saw it earlier today. Someone said like we hit 50K fall or 50K holders.
Yeah.
What
We
was
did it.
that big hit the other day on May
It's a
17th?
glitch.
Oh,
So
it's a glitch.
basically a glitch. Yeah, the bot sometimes has issues trying to well project
data.
everything correctly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
And what I find striking here is basically since the 11th, 12th of May, obviously during and that's also what I try to do on Twitter during the Luna affair. It's called that. It's an understatement. The fiasco.
Luna Gate.
Yeah, through crawling out through the fallout, basically the days after that, you can see the amount of wallets increasing rapidly. So
Yeah.
basically on day one, you see plus 151, 555, 412.
According to Etherscan, right now we have 50,080 holders.
Yeah. So what I think here is that what we're seeing is just that people are actually moving their funds
Off exchanges, right?
off exchanges. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Coinbase thing they put out, you guys saw that Coinbase thing, right? Like in the event they go bankrupt, they can use their users' funds. I think that definitely scared a lot of people and had them realize like, you know what, maybe I should take it off an exchange. That's actually something I I get really bugged by. I don't get why people justify leaving your coins on an exchange.
Oh, I
No.
can easily explain that.
What's the justification, Yarno? I'd love to
Because-
hear it.
Because a lot of people don't care for the not your keys, not your coins. The way we think and feel about this place is not how most people view it. The way we look at banks is not how most people view it. And I have a lot of wealthy friends and family. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares. Nobody sees the danger of holding your fiat on a bank. Nobody sees the risk. And I told them the risk of an exchange holding your tokens. They don't care. They see an exchange just like it's a bank. You put your money on a bank, you put your tokens on an exchange. And I explained them. Okay, careful not to dox people. There are people that actually bought a ledger because I told them, listen, you have over 3 figures QNT. That will be worth a substantial amount of money in the future. And since you are you intend on holding this for the far foreseeable future, you would probably be better off putting it on your ledger. And right now they have it on CoinMetro. I trust CoinMetro most of all exchanges for my personal reasons. And they know the risk, and they are not willing to sell anytime soon, but still they haven't put it on their ledger because it's not important to them. They don't care if it's not your keys, not your coins. And that's for most people. Also, the risk of sending coins from one place to another is high. The difficulty of owning a ledger is also substantial. I mean, having a ledger in your house, having your 24 words in your house, saying you get burglarized or your house burns down, you can still lose all your funds. If they're on an exchange, you cannot. That's an additional risk factor. Not everybody is as conscientious as we may be. And even a conscientious people like us can make mistakes. People that are well read up on the crypto space and know you need to send a small amount first and then a bigger amount, and you should not engage with contracts left and right, blah, 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 blah. Even we make mistakes and get fucked. So I understand. And I even advised some people, not financial advice, just leave your coins. Leave your coins on the exchange. It's the risk is not the same as it was in the Mount Gox time. It's simply not. I mean, obviously mistakes can be made. CoinMetro got quote unquote hacked, social engineered, and they reimbursed everybody. And the same happened on other exchanges, and they did the same. If you want to keep your reputation, you want to keep on existing, you just need to get that stuff sorted, and that mitigates risk a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely.
But I
That's
do, I do agree, if you're willing to, and if you really want to do it quote unquote right, and you want to own your tokens, put them on a ledger. But it brings a whole new heap of potential issues with it.
That's a really interesting point how you brought that up. I never even thought about it like that. Like, especially with a bunch of these exchanges offering like insurance and stuff, how, you know, in a sense, if you don't have a ton of tokens in like nominal value, maybe it makes more sense to keep it on an exchange, because now you don't have to pay those exchange fees, which can definitely add up sometimes. And you're kind of in a sense insured, and you don't have to be responsible of keeping your own ledger safe and not exposing your seed phrase.
And it is liquid.
Yeah, that's yeah. I
and,
mean, like you can
Tim and
sell
I
one.
both have an amount of Q&T scattered around exchanges, because when
No, I'm the same.
when eventually the bull market hits again, Ethereum fees will be disgusting, and
Exactly. Yeah.
you need to buy ETH, and if you want to sell quickly, you want to sell a local top, because there's a ridiculous spike from one day to the other. Yeah, it's difficult.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I guess like maybe in the sense like if you plan to like hold a long-term bag, I think that's when you should really consider getting a ledger, because that's when like I don't know, both of them obviously have their own risks. With having your own ledger, you have to actually be responsible of keeping your keys safe and not losing those keys.
Yeah, and your words, keep them on
Yeah,
multiple
and
places.
and what is it? Just like actually learning how to send funds back and forth. But then on an exchange, the risks you're facing is in the event that exchange does hypothetically go bankrupt, your coins are gone.
No.
So yeah, it's I don't know.
That is indeed
Important.
the biggest risk for exchanges that I haven't considered, that they could potentially go belly up.
But you're definitely right on the
Belly
fact
up.
we're past the Mount Gox days to where, you know, we're knock on wood, because we don't know if this will happen again, but you know, it's not a guarantee a Mount Gox won't happen again, you know?
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. Yet I think it's getting more and more unlikely the bigger everything gets. Same as bank robberies, the risk of all your money getting stolen, banks just pulling rugs. Regulation is actually picking up, and everything is getting more and more well regulated, and accountable and liable, but by many laws. And I think if you do your homework, to Coinbases, to Krakens, to Coin Metros of this world, I think they're insured up their ass, like you said, and I think they are getting more ethical as far as you can expect from institutions like that.
Yeah, definitely. It'll, you know, be interesting to see how these future of exchanges continue shaping out.
Yeah. CeDeFi.
Guys,
CeDeFi, yeah, that's the new way.
CeDeFi, yeah.
Yeah.
I think yeah, you know, a lot of people are having a hard time accepting the concepts of CeDeFi, but at the same time, I think it's like, did people really expect the first iteration of DeFi when DeFi summer in 2020 first hit? Did they expect that to be the end all be all for DeFi? Like,
Yes.
there's going to be big changes to any industry, and like, you know, to expect the first iteration of it to be sort of the end all be all for it is kind of silly to think, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's going to be changes and improvements to it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think DeFi kind of lost its credibility. I mean, I wouldn't call it that yet, but it definitely lost its credibility after the current fiascos. I mean, everyone knew it was bound to happen, and then it happened.
Yeah, I think it definitely took a bit of a hit. I think the overall DeFi community is pretty interesting, because there's some people who are just like kind of in DeFi, like myself, for example. I mess around in a DeFi protocol every now and then, but then there's people that are literally like, no, I don't keep any fiat on me. Everything is like in my DeFi wallets or in DeFi protocols. And it's just kind of the spectrum and range in kind of support for the DeFi ecosystem it's interesting.
The KYC, the regulation will catch up, and
Absolutely.
and whenever that hits, when it really hits, there'll be a bank run in the DeFi world, and there will be a lot of people getting their ass burned, and there will be a lot of people. Same with as with Luna, a lot of people will lose their money, and usually it's not the people like you and I that will be the winners of that situation.
Yeah, it's the big whales, right?
Yeah, the people that are on top of it, the people that get wind of the situation before it's actually implemented or when the regulation actually hits, and a lot of people will get burned. And eventually, I mean, that's why the CeDeFi thing is going to prevail. KYC is inevitable. Taxes are inevitable, and I know people hate it, and that's why they're in crypto. If you don't want to pay taxes, you're going to be in the crypto of 2030, and that will be just like the dark web.
Yeah. You know, they say there's two things in life you can't avoid, and that's death and taxes, right?
Yep.
Sure. So those are the certainties. I want to kind of move to the end of the episode. I've been saying this for the past 40 minutes, but I'm also looking at my own schedule. So
yeah,
it's almost midnight over
here. We're almost 3 hours in, man. So
yeah, but it's okay. Amazing. Yeah, no, it is amazing. It's a really good episode in my opinion.
Yeah, it is.
Do you have anything finally to add for us, Tokenizer?
But besides your USDT tweet, we missed that. We're not going to get to it. I'll put it in the description. Tokenizer has a tweet on USDT. It might not all be so bad according to USDT. So check that out.
Yeah, I just wanted to make clear that all my stables that I'm holding are still in USDC. Until I see some more confirmation, I probably won't be holding USDT yet. The only time I'm using it right now is just to dollar cost average some quant or LCX.
Yeah.
All right. Tokenizer, did you have anything else to add besides that?
Just wanted to thank you guys for having me on. It was an absolutely awesome time, and just actually finally getting the opportunity to hop on the Quamfy show, because it's a series that I've been listening to for quite some time now. And
really,
I have. So to actually come on and talk and get feedback directly from you guys, have that two-way communication, it's pretty awesome to hear at first, and I'm still taking that in right now. Damn, I'm gonna be on the Quamfy show.
All right, well, man, we loved having you. It was a great discussion. I really enjoyed bouncing stuff off of you. Really love the insights you provided into all the other projects and everything that we covered. Learned a lot. Thank you so much. We love to have you again in the future, if that's okay.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I'd love to come back on sometime in the near future.
Tim, closing arguments.
I don't really have any. I'm curious where we will be this time next week. I think we witnessed an insane week. Last time both episodes were heavy, I think.
Yeah,
we were witnessing history last week, and they weren't. I think the quality of both episodes was different because of just the events. We were just trying to process what was happening, and we survived, guys. We're still here.
Indeed.
And I think we dropped an amazing episode last Tuesday for the Dutch people, and now we will drop an amazing one for the English audience, or the international audience, I should say.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it.
Thank you all for watching.
Yeah.
Make sure to do the like, subscribe, comment, give Tokenizer a follow on the Twitter.
Definitely.
All the links will be in the description. Let us know what questions you have, what remarks you have, what things we should address in next episodes. Upcoming episode English is also going to have a guest. We're going to have a talk about the DAO. Who's going to come on, you'll see. We'll probably drop some nuggets in the future. Tokenizer, again, thank you for being here. And,
Thank you guys. I had an awesome time.
Thank
Well,
you, and feel free to join us anytime you want in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely plan to come back on in the near future.
So it's it was a really interesting episode. Thanks,
everybody.
Thank you.
Stay Quamfy.
Stay Quamfy.
Cheers.
Stay Quamfy. Peace.